What's going on, everybody? Thank you to everybody that came over from the Bruised Banana. It was a fantastic show. Appreciate him. Big up Shane every single time. Appreciate everybody that came over for the conversation today. Today, we are going to get into a lot of transfer talk. I am going to put the link in the chat. Anybody who wants to hop on is welcome to hop on, talk some transfer talk. But yeah, listen, there's a lot going on that we need to talk about as far as transfers. Recently, we'll start with Napoli. Obviously, there is a situation brewing with Napoli where there could be a potential overhaul of the squad. We're waiting to see what Giovanni Manna and Aurelio De Laurentiis is going to do with the team. And obviously, there's a lot of talk that needs to be talked about with Arsenal potentially having PSR problems and everything else. I'll really quickly jump into the chat. Big up Quaja for coming over. Big up Gunnar SC. Big up Brenny. Big up to my bro Waffle Don. Anybody who's who's watching this, please go subscribe to Waffle Don. My guy, always speaking facts, always asking tough questions about Arsenal and everything else. He's a real one. Please go follow him. My guy every single time. Big up Martin Tapp as well. Appreciate you stopping by for the conversation, Martin. We will be covering a lot. We'll start with Napoli. Big up Daniel. Haven't seen you in a while, but hope everything's all good with you. But we'll start with Napoli. Obviously, we were hoping, as far as Napoli, we were hoping that Belgium would do well enough to where we could get Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku off the books. It seems as if that Mana is trying to figure out a way on how to get rid of both Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku. There has been loose talk that De Bruyne could end up in Turkey and end up going to Galatasaray. It's also the same situation with Romelu Lukaku. We do know from Di Marzio that Romelu Lukaku has made contact with both Besiktas and Fenerbahce. There could be a situation where he makes a move to Turkey. There's been talk as far as finally getting rid of Alex Meret, who's costing us a ton of money. Noah Long is linked to Fiorentina. But the other talks that haven't gone on right now is the situation going on with Rahmani and plenty of other guys as well. So right now, the situation at Napoli currently stands is that it looks like there could be an overhaul this year. We missed out on Mario Gila. He's gone to AC Milan for 30 million, who I think is a huge miss. We should have went after him. Obviously, Napoli is considering getting rid of both Rahmani and Buongiorno if we can find a good enough price, especially for Buongiorno, because we bought him for a lot of money, 45 million plus from Torino. So I think there's a situation there where Napoli is looking at getting rid of a lot of players, especially because we bought into the crazy amount of spending under Antonio Conte, and we're already seeing it coming back to bite us. So we're in a tricky situation right now with the club needing to make difficult decisions as far as players. We've done this right now. There's talk of us getting rid of Zambo Anguissa as well, along with potentially Lobotka as well. So really right now, when you look at Serie A, it's just an absolute mess of all the transfers going on. Napoli has been linked to Davide Fratesi, Vicario from Spurs. We've been linked to Amin Gouiri from Marseille, which I am very pleased by because I think he would be a fantastic signing to be the striker to start over Rasmus Højlund, who unfortunately we have paid the money for him. Now, the one good signing that we've brought in, or that looks like we're about to bring in, is Ezequiel Zeballos from Boca Juniors. He's 24. He's a left winger. He looks very, very talented for coming to Napoli, as it is most likely a situation where Noah Long will be sold. So if that's the case, I mean, I'm not a fan of us getting rid of Noah Long this early. I think he wasn't given the proper amount of time when you look at Antonio Conte at Napoli. But when you look at this kid Ceballos, he looks very, very good from what I have seen so far at Boca Juniors. We've also been linked with a ton of different center backs. Benoit Badiashile from Chelsea was linked with Napoli. That's quickly fallen apart. There's rumors that we could be going after Christian Romero or Federico Gatti. Romero from Spurs. Gatti, for me, would be the person that I would take over Romero. I'm not a fan of Romero. I honestly would like to, if we went for Gatti, I'd like to see Rahmani stay. I would also like us to see to keep Rafa Marin as well for rotation. I think if you went into the season with Rafa Marin, Gatti, Bukma, and Rahmani as your four center backs, I think we would be just fine going forward. But yeah, there's a lot going on with this. So that's just Napoli. Now, big up Chike, my guy.
Hey, good to have you.
It's actually funny that you just hop on because I was going to get into this. What do you make of this whole Rodri to Real Madrid situation?
I'm not surprised. After the World Cup that he had and Florentino Perez winning the election, it doesn't surprise me that he's linked with Real Madrid and could go there for the price that he may go there. I mean, it would be a huge loss if he goes, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went to Madrid. I would be surprised if he goes anywhere else, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went to Madrid. But I do want to ask you something before now. What do you have against Connecticut? Sorry to go off, but what do you have against Connecticut?
They claim their pizza's their best, and the pizza's dog shit.
I mean, I've never had New Haven pizza. I can't say that, but
and Connecticut's a shithole. where I've been in Connecticut's a shithole. That's why I don't care about Connecticut.
Where have you been to in particular?
Greenwich, Bridgeport.
Bridgeport is terrible. Don't go there. Stamford. Well, I can't. Go ahead.
I've been to Greenwich. Wasn't a fan of Greenwich either.
Okay. What about Stamford?
No.
You've never been to Stamford?
Nope. Don't care to go back.
Okay.
Don't care to go back to Connecticut.
I was just gonna say, you really hate Connecticut that much. I was like, has this guy been to Connecticut?
Yeah, I got family on the East Coast.
Yeah, you did tell me that.
I got family on the East Coast.
You did tell me that. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off topic. I was just genuinely curious as like, does this guy really hate Connecticut, or has he even been there to hate it that much?
Yeah.
I mean, I get why people hate you. I get why people hate UConn because UConn claims that they're this powerhouse, and they are, whether people like it or don't like it. We are a powerhouse, and we have achieved what certain teams have not done in the past, which is reach the national championships in 3 out of the 4 years that we've, been to the NCAA tournament. So I get why people hate us. And we also have that coach named Dan Hurley, who no one seems to like. But
overall, but like to he's funny. He says Connecticut is where the rich people live, though the McMahons. There's a lot of poverty in Connecticut too. There's a lot of shithole areas in Connecticut. It's just like Connecticut's just like Jersey. There's a lot of money in Connecticut, and there's a lot of shithole areas in Connecticut.
Yep.
So
that's a good part of the East Coast. That's a good part of the East Coast. Yeah, Husky.
Camavinga is 23, so his injuries aren't a huge concern.
I
don't know about that, RSV. I think Camavinga's injuries are a little concerning because to be that young and already starting to pick up injuries left, right, and center is a little worry for me. But I would take Camavinga. Now, I personally don't think that Bruno G is worth 80 million, if I'm being quite honest with you, because one of the things people are forgetting is Bruno Guimaraes has a bad track record of injuries as well that a lot of people are glossing over. So I don't know. I would take Camavinga though at Arsenal because I think he fits in, and I've seen him play the 6. He's okay. He's not terrible. But again, like the issue with me with Arsenal, and we'll get into it, is you don't even know who we can go after because they're showing that PSR is not doing well. So that's why we're not going after players as much as we should right now. England didn't win the World Cup, and I had money, so Spain saw him bless. Gillis. I think you're asking about who the manager was at Napoli. It's Massimiliano Allegri, which adds to the problem.
Great. That bum.
What's going on? So,
and I can't imagine
exactly.
The Italy national team manager.
New Jersey's a fucking shithole. Camden, Trenton, all that crap is fucking dog shit in Jersey.
Even East Rutherford.
Jersey City's trash. Fucking Newark's a shithole.
Well, I've never been in New York, so I can't comment on places. I can't comment on things being a shithole if I've never been. I mean,
Pick a
I've been in
question.
New York, I've been to Boston. I do like Boston. Well, actually, I hate Boston, but the city itself is
Yeah, I don't
really
like
nice.
Boston either.
I hate Boston, but the city is really nice. Like
Long Island,
you
yeah,
can't
Long
deny it.
Island. I'm not a fan of Long Island either. I mean, it is what it is. No,
And no,
RSV. I biblically disagree with it. The worst
yeah, I disagree.
airport I've ever
Is
been to is freaking JFK.
JFK and
JFK is the shit.
LAX.
Yeah, LAX too. LAX
Yeah,
too.
LAX too.
But
Yeah.
so with your situation with Rodri, if Rodri leaves, are City even in the competition
No,
for the league?
no, because I'm not a fan of Elliot Anderson, especially after what he did with the World Cup in England. And to get him for 116 million is just mental because you can literally get what half the squad for less than that. I just hate how players are going for such massive money when they've done nothing in the game. Like Elliot Anderson's never played in the Champions League. He's never been in a situation where he's been in a Premier League title run in. So no, I mean
Yeah,
I mean you're taking a massive risk on getting someone for such a big price value, especially when they've never been in high pressure situations or moments.
yeah,
It's almost like I'd rather get someone from La Liga for literally half that and take the risk on him not panning out than getting an English guy, which is the big English tax for 116 mil when we could lose the title by 30 points and then we've wasted that much money on a player where we could have gotten at least 4 or 5 players for half of that or the same amount. So I don't know,
yeah.
but
A healthy Rodri leaving is an awful decision. It's an awful decision for Manchester City. If you look
yeah,
at
it's an
it
awful
from
decision for us.
if you look at it from the situation of Real Madrid, it's a fucking slam dunk.
Yeah,
It's a slam dunk. You get the best number 6 in the world, which we all
yep,
know Real Madrid's biggest problem over the last few years has been defensively.
yep.
So, at the end of the day, for if you're looking at it from an Arsenal perspective, this is the best news you could get because we're not moving like that um in the transfer market. And if Rodri goes, that's a huge win for us. Absolute massive win
Massive.
for us if
Yeah.
if Rodri goes. Because City, for me, I think City's the biggest competitor to Arsenal for the league this year. I'm not
Hmm.
listen, unless Aston Villa pulls a rabbit out of their ass with somebody else, because Garnacho, for me, I
Yeah,
don't know what the hell Unai Emery was looking at with that one. That's in the words of the great Lee Gunner, that's a stinker and hooked on fucking Unai Emery because I
that's a
don't understand.
sackable offense getting him. He sucks.
Yeah,
Like he's
I don't see.
terrible.
And they spent quite a bit of money on him, I believe. Let me look at how much money
Yeah,
he
how
got.
much did they get for him?
I think they got like 30 something million for him, if not more.
You're joking. Wow.
No. Because I think the way they've set it up is Garnacho's going there on loan. Oh, okay. So no.
Oh.
It's a conditional buy. It's a conditional obligation to buy. So that means that it's not mandatory purchase at the end.
Wait,
So
isn't
he's
that what a
going.
loan is?
Yeah, he's going there on loan
Okay.
with the possible obligation to buy to be signed off
Okay.
in the middle. But you spent 40 million on him from Manchester United, so I'm assuming you're going to ask for 35 plus on Garnacho. So I don't see where they come off with trying to get it with him. I think they need to make some more moves.
Yeah,
Big
that's
up Darren
crazy.
every single time.
Yeah,
Darren, if
big
you're
up
free,
there.
you're more
Yeah.
likely, you're blah. Darren, if you're free, you're always welcome to hop on, my guy. Hope
World Cup
everything's
fever.
well with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Elliot Anderson is only used to playing in a defensive counter-attacking low block side. It will take a lot of time for him to adjust to Man City's system. The team don't respect for. See, here's the thing. I honestly don't know if it takes you a long time because when you look at playing from a low block side to going into a possession-based team, if you're already good at quick passes and keeping the game moving, then it's not going to really take that long for you to transition from them to City. What the question for me is the style of play. Because Maresca, when you look at the way that he played at Chelsea, he was way more direct instead of sideways U-shaped passing football. So I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel about this. What I do know is Elliot Anderson's not even close to the quality of Rodri. So off that strength alone, you could probably say that with the loss of Rodri with Anderson, if we're going to equate to it, City got 78 points last year. I'd say the loss of Rodri is easy worth 9 to 12 points off top. So there's a possibility you could drop into a 60-point mark, which then changes the game in the Premier League as far as that. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. Big up Normski in the chat.
Yeah, big up Normski, my guy. Big up Normski.
Yeah, 42 million pounds of Garnacho. It's ridiculous. If that's what he's going to go for.
Scandalous. It's scandalous.
Yeah. Like, so I mean, at the end of the day, big up Willinho every single time.
Big up Willinho. Big up Normski.
When you look at it at the end of the day, I think it's a situation where if you guys lose Rodri, I don't care who you guys get. If you guys get Rodri and you only make 2 signings, if there's not another midfield signing and not a defensive signing, I don't think you guys got a shot in hell of winning the league. The only way you guys got a chance of winning the league is if Haaland breaks the scoring record and this motherfucker gets like 45 plus goals in the Premier League. Because I don't see how that back line without Rodri protecting it is going to fare. You look at the way Rodri played in the World Cup. If that's the way that he's going to play for Manchester City and he doesn't leave for Real Madrid, the Manchester City for me are the favorites to win without any additions going on to Arsenal. But if he leaves, I'm sorry. You don't
have to apologize. It's facts.
Yeah. It's a situation with me. I'm looking at it from the perspective of if you guys get rid of them, then Arsenal have to be the favorites coming into this. And we haven't even made a serious move yet because I'm not a believer in the soulless kit like that.
And also with Saliba out, it's going to be Gabriel, who's played how many games over the last couple of years. So he's going to be on eggshells, and Declan Rice is on eggshells. This whole World Cup, honestly, I don't even know. This is actually the first time that I've actually talked about this World Cup. This World Cup has only been good because it's been a cash cow. It's been nothing more than money and offices. That's the reason why this World Cup was quality, because all these players have played however many games over the last 2 years. Now they're going to have minimal rest, and the season is going to suffer for it because they just played 104 matches. I mean, Rodri's played 100. Rodri's played how many games in the World Cup? Then the Premier League. Like, these guys are there's like someone's going to get a major injury. Like, someone's going to tear their Achilles or get an ACL or something. So while this World Cup's been great for money and marketing purposes, the quality of football at times has been horrific. And I just don't know what the season is going to look like for our teams, and whether it's City, Arsenal, even Barca, because Spain won the whole thing. And I don't know. I just don't know how the season's going to go, to be honest with you.
I think Barca's smoking crack with signing Adeyemi and freaking Anthony Gordon. I don't understand those 2 signings whatsoever. I mean, it's almost as if they're trying to turn into pace merchants over at Barca, which is a sad thing for that.
That's very, very sad. And I've seen Barcelona's treble-winning season in 2014-15. That's
here's the thing, Sean.
Teams I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, exactly. And to Sean, like, here's the thing. I see that they're trying to go get Buati, but Buati and Anderson don't win them a league. No. I'm sorry. Buati and Anderson are not going to win Manchester City a league. Again, in this type of a scenario, if they lose Rodri, it's all going to depend on how direct Manchester City is going to play under Enzo Maresca. And the bigger concern is if guys like Rodri are starting to leave already, does that eventually mean that this will affect the how long Erling Haaland will stay at Manchester City? That's really the biggest question here. Now, if you're looking at it from a City perspective, is what'll end up happening with that. Earlier start at race course tomorrow. I will jump on it. All right, big up Darren, my guy.
Big up Darren.
IDK City had Rodri out for a long time last season, but only finished a few points behind Arsenal. They still have, like I said,
Arsenal also screwed up as well. I mean, if Arsenal doesn't drop points and do their business, we lose the league. Well, I shouldn't say we win. They win the league with 15. They win the league by 15 points, which is essentially 3-4 games left to go. So. Yeah, I mean, I hear that, but at the end of the day, Arsenal also almost completely bottled this league, which I never would have thought.
Big up Quasha.
I don't know. Big up Quasha, man.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
The thing that's gonna hold back Arsenal is the Saliba situation. The Saliba situation is fucking ridiculous because like how our biggest asset on the team. I don't care what anybody says. Saliba is our biggest asset on the team. For me, he's the best center back in the world when he's 100% healthy. He's the best center back in the world, and the fact that this guy for March, April, May was playing with a fucked up back, went into the World Cup with a screwed up back, playing on painkillers and everything else. And now he's going to be gone for five months at least, from what it sounds like, is an absolute disgrace. Him, like Rodri and Saliba, for me, like somewhat cancel each other out when you look at what it does to affect the team. But the problem is this. When you look at it from an Arsenal perspective, it's not just Saliba. We don't know how long Declan Rice needs to be out to properly rest. Saka, I mean, listen, man, I think come January next year, we're going to be having the same conversations about Saka that people had about the situation with Aubameyang, in my personal opinion, that we're going to have to start having the conversation about, are we going to have to bite the bullet and sell him? Because if he can't stay healthy, he's on £300,000 a week. He's the highest paid player at Arsenal now. So, you know, and
the fact that England doesn't have workers unions at all.
Big up my guy, Manny.
Big up my guy.
Big up Manny, man.
The workers union doesn't really have anything to do with this. It's more so along the lines for me that the thing is that at the end of the day, what I'm not liking, what I'm seeing from Arsenal fans and stuff, is they're not liking. Nobody is talking about the years of misuse that Edu and Arteta have done with transfer fees and wages. That's why we're not making any moves. Whether anybody likes it or not, that's why we're not making any moves. Again, I keep using the Solis signing as the example. We had to sell. If you look at Trossard, we only got £15 million guaranteed from Trossard. Everything else is add-ons. Trossard pays. There's still $20 million outstanding debt on Solis. Now, if you look at what happened with the salary, Solis is on £90,000. Initially, I thought it was 70, but it's actually 90 now. They've released the info that he's on £90,000. So he's getting half of what Trossard was getting. So that means you've saved about 4.7 million a year that goes back in. So now you're basically hoping that instead of clearing debt, you've taken on more debt and are hoping that the money that you're not going to spend on Trossard will pay off the player. If you put two and two together, that means Arsenal doesn't have the amount of money that everybody thinks. And PSR is going to be the biggest problem here because, again, you look at this Bruno Guimaraes situation. We haven't even thrown down a fucking bid. And Newcastle gave us a deadline to throw down a bid to keep asking to see what's going to happen. Now, the report today is that Arsenal are going to make a $70 million bid. They've already told us they want 80 minimum. So what the fuck is the point of even sending in the bid if you're going to go 10 million short? Newcastle is not going to do business like that, especially because they've already made money on the players that they've sold. So I don't get it. And I think that the PSR question with what's going on for Arsenal, for me, is what's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back this season, so to speak, as far as trying to go back to back. Kwaja, what's your take on this whole Saliba situation, and what do you think about the transfers? Do you agree that it's, whether the top Gooners like it or not, it's definitely PSR that's holding us back? It's not Berta that's holding us back, the way they're trying to word it.
Yeah, I think it's down to PSR. I just feel like the summer window's been a shambles. I mean, if you're Premier League champions, we're supposed to be out there and getting the deals done as soon as possible. But it's okay because, Andre Berta is going to be the blame. Everything's now down to Andre Berta when it's not his fault that we put players on silly wages, that we put Havertz on, 280k a week, Jesus 265. Is it Berta's fault that he puts Havertz on 280k a week? No, it's the club, the ownership. They put these players on silly wages and we can't sell them because of our wage bill. Who's going to afford Havertz for 280k a week? Is anyone going to pay, Jesus 265k a week per week? No, I don't think so. So when I look at it,
big up JLS.
When you look at it, I just feel like the summer window has not been good enough. Listen, we're getting deals done, but we're getting a goalkeeper from Leeds United that barely played last season, and we get a guy that can't even catch a ball properly. He's now Kepa. I basically call him the French Kepa. I remember his error against Sunderland in the Championship 24-25 season. The ball came in the box. He had to grab it and he spill it and they equalized from it. Terrible goalkeeping. And I'm like, imagine he does that again in a Carabao Cup. Can you imagine if he starts a Carabao Cup final, he does that? Let's assume we're in the Carabao Cup final, he does that. I don't know. What is the point? People are going to sit here and say we bought him on a free, but yeah, we have to pay his wages now. So what are we doing here? I mean, it's not been a great window. I feel like big up panel, big up GK, big up Manny, long time no see, man. Let's be real here. Let's just hope that the Bruno G deal gets done. I mean, people are going to cry about Morgan Rogers. Oh, it's expensive. Well, it doesn't matter. Right now in the market, he's worth 170 million. So you just have to pay the price for the player. And I feel like with Morgan Rogers we didn't even send a bid. We didn't even send a bid to Rogers. We just said, we were linked to him, and you got Hand of Arsenal on Twitter saying that Mikel Arteta had direct link with Rogers. I mean, where the hell do you have evidence of it? I have no idea. Do you have any evidence of Morgan Rogers having direct contact with Arteta? Because I think Hand of Arsenal just speak absolute waffle because there was no evidence. Everyone's like, but Arsenal's number one target was Morgan Rogers. Why did we not send a bid then? How did Chelsea send a £170 million bid first? Somebody explain that to me. Because we're just wasting our time. When you see Man United doing deals, they got Tielemans, another market opportunity missed. I would have taken him at Arsenal. He would have been the perfect number 8. I mean, Declan Rice can be the 6, Tielemans can be the 8. Now we just have to sit around and, try and buy John Stones on a free. That's what the club want to buy. And I'm like, no, I don't want John Stones. I'd rather have Lacroix from Crystal Palace over John Stones. And I'm like, what are we doing here? We're going to have a 32-year-old, I think he's 32-year-old centre-back that's barely played for Man City this season. He got picked in the World Cup for some reason. I don't know why. Now we're going to have to be saying, we need a centre-back. We haven't even got fullbacks, bruv. We're still sticking with Calafiori and Nkapie. Our right-back situation is still worse. That Timber is now in training. He's in the training. He's training for the new season. You got Timber, Mosquera, the 2 possible right-backs. Ben White's still here, and I think he's crocked as well. So our fullback situation is a problem because we can't even get a proper fullback. We just let Kieran Tierney go. That's my baller right there, Kieran Tierney. How dare you, Arteta, kick him out? Yeah, because we all know, even Jim knows that Kieran Tierney is better than our left back options. He would have been the perfect option, but we didn't. Arteta decided, you know what? Let's spin him. He's just gonna copy Pep doing this inverted thing, and I'm sick and tired of it, Gianni, man. I mean, listen, I just want to get rid of these players as soon as possible, but we can't. We can't even get rid of our captain because this club puts silly wages on crap players, and I'm just waiting for them to go. Even if Martinelli. If Atletico Madrid want to get Martinelli, sell him down the window. I don't care. But nah, Gianni, it's not been great. I just feel like the PSR, just like Aston Villa have to sell their players. They have no other choice but to do it because of the PSR. And when you look at us, we just can't sell players. What do you expect Berto to do? Like, we put bang average bums on silly wage, on silly money. And which club is going to buy them? No one.
Nobody. Nobody's going to buy them. Nobody's going to buy them. Manny, we've had this conversation in our group chat when people ask how we could sell players, and I've said it multiple times. You can't. This isn't make believe land where Odegaard's the captain of Arsenal. We won the league. We should be getting 60 million. Nobody's paying 60 million for Martin Odegaard, especially after the performance in the World Cup. Yes, he got 4 assists, but he still looked like dog shit for majority of the World Cup. And let's be honest, nobody's going to pay Odegaard £240,000 a week. I mean, the fact that Martin Odegaard's $1 million player a month is a disgrace. I mean, what do you think of this whole transfer situation with PSR and how it's slowing us down?
Gianni, first of all, big up to you. It's and I think I can speak for some of us, at least on the panel, when I say I'm so glad that the World Cup is over. Didn't watch a single minute of it. I'm really sorry to have to say this, Gianni. What? Yeah.
You didn't watch a single minute of the World Cup? Not even the final?
Nope. I was getting updates, obviously, from BBC Sport Text, and obviously when you're part of some group chats, and obviously in Gianni's group, which I'm a part of, they were giving some updates, a few of them, and I also got one on Instagram as well. But I'm sorry to have to say this, Gianni, but in my experience from having seen several events, whenever Americans tend to organize these big sports events, more often than otherwise, they muck it up. Don't get me started on the 94 World Cup, which was played in some, ugly conditions. And even during the Centenary Olympic Games in Atlanta, I believe there was a bomb blast which resulted in 1 or 2 fatalities as well. And people were saying that, it wasn't really a very well-organized games. I mean,
Wow.
especially, obviously, if the football is really good, it's because it's the World Cup. It's got an inherent magic about it. And that's the way it is. That's why I love it. But I just couldn't bring myself to watch any of it this year. And I don't even know if I'll be able to watch another World Cup if that swine Infantino is in charge. But enough of that.
Fair enough.
It was interesting to hear Khawaja talk about Yuri Tielemans. The guy had a $35 million a pound release clause.
Yeah.
And we didn't do our due diligence to even try and get it. Now, a lot of people are probably having some sour grapes in terms of complaining that, we wanted Tielemans and we could have had him, but whenever we tried to approach him, Aston Villa told us to, bugger off. He's not for sale. We're not going to sell him to you. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, United come a-calling. They find out that there is a release clause. And Aston Villa are happy to let him go because it's pure profit, as you would say. And now they've also sold Morgan Rogers to Chelsea for far more than we were willing to offer. So, for all of the talk about how Aston Villa have so many problems and they're a badly run club, they're selling players and they're getting some great replacements in. So they're doing everything they can to make sure they stay financially above board. And they're doing some really, really good things. And don't be surprised if they go very far in Europe this season, although I don't think they'll challenge for the league title. Maybe they'll finish, thereabouts in the top 4 or 5 maybe. But still, do not sleep on them. As long as they've got a good board, Emery as manager, that's really, the case it will be. And then you talk about Guimarães' situation where we're planning on submitting a bid for about 70 million, I think. And Newcastle have said that they won't accept anything less than 80 million. It's like, what are we trying to do here? I think it's as if we do this every year, and this thing has happened since the days of Wenger. I'm sure some of you might remember the whole situation with Luis Suarez. We thought we could try and, buy him. For... Absolutely, brother. That's the one. And so we tried to be cute and smart and snide, and we end up getting our, trousers and our underpants pulled down. We do this every time, literally. I mean, I'm reminded of that wonderful song by Post Malone. That is a perfect lyric. We do this every time. Run away, but we're running in circles. Run away, run away.
Yeah, and
brilliant song.
The biggest issue is like I said, we have 7 players on the wage bill that are 200,000 pounds or more. Out of the 27 names on the squad for Arsenal right now, 16 of them are on 100,000 or higher. So it's I think what is it? Our average, our base salary per year is 191 million pounds a season. And when you look at the fact that you're spending nearly 200 million pounds a season just on your wages, and that doesn't even take into the fact of how much you're spending for transfer fees and everything else. This is why I don't understand why people don't understand the fact that Arsenal's having money issues. That's why you have to sell players. That's why for me, the Solis signing should have been made after you sold Martinelli, not Trossard. Martinelli is the one that, I don't understand why people don't want to get rid of this guy. He's pure profit at this point. And if you want to free up the cash to be able to go after the likes of a Bruno G or whoever in that regard, you need to sell Martinelli in order to be able to do that. So the problem is, at the end of the day, is you need to be able to make the tough decisions. Martinelli has to go. Now, I do not want Ethan Nwaneri or Miles Lewis-Skelly to be sold. The problem is most likely that's what's going to end up happening soon because of the fact that we need the pure profit to clean up some of the issues that what we have with the finances. I think
Exactly.
I think you need to keep those two kids because you're going to need fresh legs going into this season. I mean, you look at Saliba's gone for 5 months minimal. There's no longer a discussion if he's going to come back faster or not. It's 5 months minimal. Saliba is going to be out, and there cannot be any rushing him back like we did Saka, because if you rush him back, now you're dealing with even bigger problems. But now that adds another position that you need to get more reinforcements in. I mean, we were already saying, I think, Manny, you and me, the last time we talked, I think we said we need at least 5 to 6 players in, but the even bigger thing is we need about 6 to 7 players out to try to straighten out these finances. And it's just an absolute crock of shit. Not like this.
Absolutely.
What Suj is saying here, I don't want Lacroix, but I also don't want John Stones. John Stones, to me, there's no point of signing him. I'm sorry, there's no point of signing him. Again, this is what I mean by when we're getting caught up that in the past, everybody had their own scouts. It seems nowadays that the scouting department is Instagram for every single fucking club at this point in time, because when people say the market's inflated, yeah, the market's inflated if all these teams are looking at the same few bunch of players. What was the point of bringing in Michele from Napoli if you're not going to let him work his magic and look for players at a low cost that can fit the system of what you want? You know, I don't get it. I don't want Stones either, because again, we're talking 5-6 months for Saliba. Nobody who has watched the Premier League in the last few years could tell me that Stones is going to last that long. You might get Stones on a free. Stones may last a month, and then you're back to square one where you were at the beginning of the season. So there's no point of me even looking at John Stones.
Absolutely. And, I'll just continue before we go on to Jim. At this particular point, the only thing that's really saving us from, having any major issues with PSR is our huge profits. So effectively, because we make so much revenue, our revenue to wage turnover is not really that high compared to someone like an Aston Villa. So they've got to keep selling players, especially when you consider they sold Jacob Ramsey last season to Newcastle, I think. I think he was sort of a youth player, so that was also considered to be a case of pure profit for the club. And so they also had to do a lot of work behind the scenes, getting rid of the likes of Daniel Marlon and Enzo Banquea. But now, they seem to be in much better health and are doing a lot to actually correct the same mistakes that were made under the last regime, under Dr. Tony Zia, which very nearly got them into administration after they failed to make the Premiership. They lost the playoff final to Fulham that year. So They're actually doing a great deal of work. And we're just sitting on our backsides at the moment because, we're bringing in the money. But then, in addition, I also mentioned, Johnny, that we might also have to pay a huge tax bill to His Majesty's Revenue and Customs. So you also mentioned in the stream that we seem to be making the same mistakes that Juventus once upon a time made back in the day, which also put them into the financial, lavatory pan, as you would say. Yep. Just to enlighten me, though, what were those mistakes made, and are we in danger of falling into the same trap? Because we asked for what it's worth, the moolah is still running in, as you would say.
So the problems that Juventus made, one was all the free signings that they made. So I don't know how many people look at how the business rules work. If you make a free signing, 99% of the time you end up having to pay them a higher salary because you're bypassing the agent fees if you sign a player for free. So that means that, like, for example, not Napoli, Juve signed Aaron Ramsey. If you remember, they signed Aaron Ramsey for free. They got him on a free, and Aaron Ramsey, I believe at the time, was getting maybe 120 at that time. When he went to Juventus, he instantly got kicked up to about 215,000. And that's basically because of the fact that they gave him an increase, but he also got an even bigger increase because of the fact that there were no agent fees. That's a situation that you can potentially run into with the likes of a John Stones. But not only that, it's stupid purchases. It's stupid purchases that they didn't make the money back, and they signed players at crazy amounts that never really even panned out. You know, transfer fee, prize money works for so much. Prize money can work for so much. But again, when you look at the situation at what we've done, you can't spend. Basically, I think Arsenal total has spent about 1.2 billion. If you include Unai Emery's era with Arteta currently, it's about 1.3 billion is what we've spent. We've only sold 200 million worth. We've only sold about 200, maybe at the most 250 million. So if you look at it, we're $1 billion in the hole. You still have now, and that's just transfers. That's not including wages. Like, again, you could throw on from last year as 191 million in wages. And it's the same thing coming into this year as 191 million in wages. So you still have to pay the wage off for the season. And then you still have to look at the situation for the transfers. When you look at like what Juve did, they just threw stupid money around. And that's what we're doing. And again, this is where the problem comes into play, that you're seeing it now as far as what we can actually afford to go after players. You know, people are saying like, oh, why don't we buy out Jesus? Well, cool, you could buy out Jesus. How much money are you going to agree on the mutual buyout, and how long is the buyout going to go against your books? Because even if you get rid of Jesus through a buyout, that doesn't mean his salary has come off your books. It still goes against you, so it's still going to hold you back. So the problem is that it's just dumb decisions over and over and over again, like the way Juventus did that ran them into the ground, that's going to eventually hurt us. I mean, again, yeah, we've had 2 or 3 straight years of record revenue. But what people fail to realize is we've spent $250 million the last 2 transfer windows. So you can't, I mean, they said, you look at this, the amount of total revenue that Arsenal brought in was 200 million off of winning the Premier League. When you look at TV rights from all the different people that were involved in that 200 million still doesn't even cover your basis of the transfer window. You're still down 50 million, and you're still down 190 from the salary. So all in all, you're still down 240 million at the end of the day, even with the prize money that you won for winning the league. Now, yes, the Champions League money, other competition money goes into it as well. But that's the problem. You're just running a negative business, which no business owner should be doing. That's why you see businesses who open up could go shit in 6 months, and you're out of the money from there. And that's the reason why, for me, with Arsenal, you have to make some tough decisions. For me, Martinelli should be the first person we're signing, because we need that extra breathing room with pure profit in order to go out and go get more players. And if we don't do that, then I don't think we should be expecting anything major as far as this season. And for me, like I've said, I think Arsenal should be the favorite, but there's no guarantee that we win. Only 3 teams have gone back-to-back in the history of the Premier League. So there's no guarantee or divine right that we're going to go back-to-back, even with everything going on with the other clubs around us. And especially if your finances are going to keep screwing up, then what are we going to expect? You know,
brother, let me tell you, we're not winning the league with Saliba out for 5 months. And
brother, we're not winning. Even if Saliba was only out for 3 months, if Saliba, Rice, and Saka are all out for the same amount of time, and they're all missing games at the same amount of time, we're not winning the league.
Agreed, completely. And we're still trying to curry Aston Villa's favour so that we can get Ezri Konsa, their club vice captain. Quit while you're ahead. So we have a high net spend. We're throwing away stupid money, as you said. It's like I always say, idiots and their money will always be parted, and they may never reunite.
Yep. To big up Normski, appreciate you staying by and listening in on the conversation today, my guy. How much realistically do you think we will make on outgoing players this season, if any? Not a lot. Because, again, the question is who are you going to sell? If you're going to sell players that need to go, if you're looking at a situation for, like, let's say we sell Martinelli. Martinelli's on almost 10 million a year on salary. So if we sell Martinelli for 35 million, that'd be cool, because it's technically 45 million you're getting, because the salary comes off the books at that point. So something like that I would be fine with if you sell Martinelli. The problem is once you get past Martinelli, who are you selling to try to make money that's not one of your starting 11 players that's actually key for the team? You know, Miles Lewis-Skelly, like I said, I don't want to be sold. But I think if Skelly and Nwaneri were sold along with Martinelli, you're probably going to roughly get around 80 to 100 million. But because it would be pure profit, that 100 million could go far as you trying to go after other players to add to the squad. But if we're looking at other ones, I mean, here, we sold Kiwior for 20 million euros. We sold Trossard for a combined 20 million euros. So it's 40 million euros right then and there. So maybe if you got rid of Martinelli and the other two youngsters, maybe you could hit 140, 150 million. But again, it's all if, buts, and maybes. For me, I don't know if Arsenal's going to make 100 million on player sales if we don't bite the bullet on some of these other guys. And again, I don't want us to start agreeing for mutual breaks in contracts, because what's the point? What's the point? You're losing a body and you're losing money against your book. So for me, I don't really see the point in it at this much, even if I don't like Gabriel Jesus and other players. So I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be that much money. I just don't think we're going to make that much money, if I'm being honest. So if I had to put a ballpark, I think maybe 75 to 85 million is how much Arsenal will bring in player sales. And again, that's if we're able to actually make some moves. But I honestly don't know. I don't know. Jim, what do you make of the whole situation going on with Arsenal's transfers? You got feedback. I think you have the.
Oh, it's me. Mom.
There you go.
Watching TV. So,
Oh, okay. No, I still hear it because I can hear my voice echoing. But and what here, Manny, because you and me do praise. I think you and me are two of the more profit and praise worthy of Aston Villa. What do you think of the whole Morgan Rogers debacle?
We deserved it. It's as simple as that. And it's always a reminder that in an auction, it's always going to be the ones who offer the highest, offer the highest amount they're willing to pay who will end up getting what they want. And you know what angers me a great deal is, let me tell you right now, if you take a look at Twitter, I mean, obviously Kawaja mentioned this idiot named Hand of Arsenal, and I do apologize for my language, but his real name should be Hand Job for Arsenal. I'm really sorry. Please mark this as
I swear every day. It's all good, brother. I swear every day. It's all good. But
anyway, it's like you see, this guy. A lot of people pretty much try to criticize him by saying he's not consistent. He has some great moments every now and then, but more often than not, he loses the ball. He doesn't really get focused in the game. But when he, turns on and has these moments, as people say, he's outstanding. And I saw him last year in the Premiership score some absolute bangers, especially that one against Manchester United. He was absolutely magisterial in Villa's run to the Europa League title. He was, of course, player of the Europa League. So this is a guy actually who, has a high ceiling and is actually quite young. And I am a little bit sad that he didn't continue his tutelage under Unai Emery, because let's face it, this guy was the one who literally has, you've got to say, he's got the best, along with, the likes of Iriola. I think Unai Emery has the best talent ID in the Premiership right now. He brought the boy from Middlesbrough for a nominal fee and literally, molded him into an amazing player. And now he's going to work under Xabi Alonso, who definitely has some sort of a plan for him. Now, again, it will remain to be seen whether he actually sticks them on the left wing or actually considers, moving him into the 10, maybe alternating with someone like an Enzo or what have you. It could very well be that Enzo might move out to the left, because Enzo was playing on the left for Argentina in the World Cup, I believe. But
you don't think he'll try the same thing? You don't think he'll try that 3-4-3 from Leverkusen with Chelsea? Because I think when you look at the squad that Chelsea has, I honestly think that that's the best layout for them. Because when you look at the midfield, and you look at their attack, listen, I'm not a believer in that Pedro Neto. I don't think he's that great. Cool, you can do a couple of tricks, but your end product's dog shit. I'm not a fan of him like that. I honestly see them playing 3-4-3, and it's going to be Cole Palmer on the right, Rodgers on the left, and Joao Pedro is the striker, and that's going to be the front three. I honestly see Chelsea playing this 3-4-3 because I just don't see – they need an extra defender back there anyway because their defense is dog shit. So I see them playing that.
It could work. It could work, as you say. The only problem is, of course, Rodgers being right-footed and Palmer being left-footed. You would like to think that they would sort of do the switcheroo and have Palmer play on the left. But then, we'll see how that works. But obviously, Alonso will have some tricks up his sleeve. There's a part of me that's actually glad that Arteta didn't get his grubby hands on him, because knowing Arteta as well as we do, and Shane Gooner can definitely agree, the man's going to butcher him. He's going to convert him into another Martinelli who will just end up, hugging the touchline and doing little all afterwards. And at least when Emery would play him, he'd sort of have him start on the 10 or on the left, switching between himself and Emi Buendia. And both of them would literally, cook around in that area with John McGinn on the right. So, but it's not even just the question of being happy in a way that he's not with Arsenal. But the arrogance that we have to sort of insist that we're not going to pay anywhere more than what Aston Villa value him, it just it grated with me a great deal. Because you were saying, of course, that Aston Villa would have had to sell Rodgers anyway because financially they weren't really in the best of positions, and you were sort of hoping that despite Emery's objections, we would get him. But then when we basically make it crystal clear that we're not willing to offer Villa what they want for us, and we have the arrogance to try and manipulate the situation, saying, Rodgers wants to come to us. We're the Premier League champions, and you can't keep him there against your will when he wants to join us. Otherwise, you're going to run the risk of, having an unhappy player who wants to force a move away. Well, didn't work out that way, did it? Rodgers would have been happy to stay, and he made it crystal clear that he loved working under Emery. But with that, cheers, Paris Mandem. But with the money that Chelsea were willing to offer, at least 20% of it or so, which would have gone to Middlesbrough to sort of to satisfy that sell-on clause, it meant that Villa had enough money left in the bank to make sure that they could get the likes of Manzambi, João Gomez, and now they've signed Garnacho on loan. So the thing about Villa is that they literally are working clockwork because they seem to have this sort of inevitability that no matter how much success they earn every season, one of their big players will have to be sold. It was Jacob Ramsey last season, it was Douglas Luiz the season before, and now it's Morgan Rodgers, and they've also gotten rid of Tielemans and Luca Digne. But they're making some really good moves to make sure they have their bases covered, and that is the way a club should be run. And when you consider that they also operate on a very low net spend, which is one of the lowest in the Premier League, compared to how much we spend. And you mentioned that we only that we're basically $1 billion or so in the red. That basically is sort of like our net spend, if you will, because we spend so much and get in so little from transfers. So what exactly are we doing here? Do we not have any sort of a talent ID? Do we not have any good scouting networks? If we talk a big game about how we're not going to be bullied into paying more than what we think a player's worth, then fine. Have the damn resourcefulness to go and look for players who won't cost that much.
Exactly.
What's happened to your talent ID? And that is why we always say that when you have a bunch of clowns running the show, all you're going to get is a freaking circus. And no, I do not mean Piccadilly Circus.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, look, what was the point of bringing in Michele from Napoli if you're not going to let him work, if you're going to go after the same people that everybody else is going after, and then believe in this nonsense, oh, the market is inflated. The market is only inflated because you're going after the same assholes that other teams are trying to overspend for. Again, the left winger, for example, why are we not looking at Molero at Villarreal? He's not going to go for anywhere near some of the cost of some of these other guys, and he's a better football player than a lot of the other guys that we're looking at, So for me, I don't get it, and why we fall into this trap over and over again of the nonsense of overpaying It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's the beautiful thing about Villa. You have to give Villa credit to what they're doing on the shoestring budget compared to us. You know, I say this all the time. Villa, if you're converting it to euros, Villa's total revenue stream as far as the amount of money they're pulling in is 450 million. Spurs are the smallest out of the big six clubs, and they're pulling in nearly 750. So the fact that you're doing what you're doing with a 300 million bridge in between, or the gap in between, and you're doing what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal of what Aston Villa's done. The problem is how PSR is set up. PSR and FFP for me should just not be a thing anymore. There's no point of you trying to build up a league and wanting to see teams get built up, but you're going to constrict them being able to do that. If you want fair competition, if you want better competition in the league, Newcastle and Aston Villa should be allowed to do what they want to do as far as trying to build up the teams. The problem is that the big six, so to speak, and mainly Spurs and the other ones are scared of these bigger clubs and more historical clubs push them out of that work of being the big six, and that they could eventually overtake them financially. That to me is the reason why they're doing this, and it's also because the Premier League is sold on the big six. You saw when the Premier League package is being sold, it's sold on the big six. Hence the reason why they're allowing Spurs to go crazy on spending money. I don't understand how Spurs are being able to spend all this money when these guys aren't even in Europe. Surely the PSR is supposed to be affected if you're not in Europe to go spend the crazy amount of money. And the funny thing is, I don't even think Spurs make Europe with this fucking team, if I'm being honest with you.
We'll see what happens, but I remember actually, you know, a friend of mine who has a Bournemouth fan channel, shout out to Craig Beasley from Up the Cherries in all departments. He was actually speaking to an accountant answering to the name of Stefan Borson, who's a Manchester City fan. And yep, I did read that. Khawaja, great servant for the Argentinian team. I hope he enjoys the rest of his career if he continues to play at club level. Fine defender for Argentina. I don't think Northside will remember him very fondly because he was at Benfica. But anyway, one of the reasons why I think they, you know, used the PSR thing and have sort of brought it in is because when you take a look at history, a lot of these clubs, take a look at Leeds United, for instance. In the early 2000s, they were, you know, doing really well, and I think they qualified for the Champions League in the early 2000s. So what that idiot Ridsdale did at the time was take a huge loan and pretty much gamble hit the club's future on continued success in Europe. But that didn't materialize under David O'Leary, and he got the boot. And then when Terry Venables came in, you know, he pretty much steered everything all the way down, and the club ended up getting relegated in 2006. And they had an almighty struggle to try to get back into the Premier League. They even were relegated to League One, I believe, and they fought their way back. And now they're still, you know, above water. They've avoided relegation, but they pretty much accepted that Premier League survival will now be their bread and butter for now, although they could very nearly have made Europe if only Chelsea didn't beat them in the semi-finals. I'm glad Manchester United did beat them. Thank you, Chike. And take a look at Portsmouth as well, with a selection of ex-Arsenal legends, Sol Campbell, Nwankwo Kanu, Lara. They won the FA Cup in 2008. But then when they went into Europe as well, they also were hoping that they could ride the gravy train, and that didn't materialize. And they also went into administration very quickly. And so you've got all of these clubs that sort of, you know, they're attracted by the bright lights of Europe. They're bitten by that bug. And so they believe that, you know, spending well beyond their means will probably be the best way to make sure that they can continue that glory period. And don't forget Leicester City. I mean, Premier League champions in 2016. Next season, they very nearly made the semi-finals of the Champions League. Now look where they are. So that is what, you know, irresponsible spending will get you. And that's probably why PSR was being used. But the problem is, I think you and I can agree, Johnny, and I will zip my lip right now because I want to let other people talk, is that, you know, they're overdoing it, basically. And I think you're absolutely spot on when you say it is sort of catered to try to, you know, suit the big six, because invariably, you know, Spurs have these revenue streams. They use their stadium for concerts and NFL games, and that brings in the money. And so Aston Villa can't really do very much, although they did have a concert for Ozzy Osbourne, if memory serves me right. And this season, they're actually going through a period of transition because I believe one of their stands is now being demolished and rebuilt. And now they've also got to try to look for some other revenue streams as well. But that's the sad part. And I will end by, quoting the legend that is the late and great James Avery. It's like clubs like Aston Villa and Newcastle are working so damn hard to try to, get back amongst the elite, punch above their weight, and really do things for themselves. And now they're being told that there's a penalty for success. It really irritates me. And when is this going to stop happening to clubs like them?
Yeah. Sean, here's the thing. I wouldn't have a problem if we signed Oyarzabal. I actually think he's a good player. I would listen, for a bit of old school, Oyarzabal is an old school left-footed left winger who I actually think would be a good fit for Arsenal if you had him coming over and if we played more of an attacking game. I wouldn't have any problems with him because Oyarzabal is going to put in 13 to 15 goals a season. And he's got good link-up play where I think he would be a good fit with Gyökeres. The biggest problem overall for me is the question is Arteta even going to play a more attacking brand of football this season? For me, you have to. You're not going to be able to play this defensive brand of football and as high as a line if Saliba's gone for 6 months. That's not happening no more. We got to throw that out the woodwork. And again, like what Manny said, I'm not trying to spend 60 million pounds on Konsa to come in to where he's only going to be playing 6 months and then he's going right back to the bench. If we sign Konsa, it means one or two things is happening. Either Konsa's being brought in because he can also play right back and Timber's not going to be up to it, and Konsa's going to end up getting shoehorned into being the right back for majority of the season. Or, like what a lot of people forgot, is before this fractured back situation happened with Saliba, apparently Real Madrid inquired and Arsenal said you can have him for 130 million pounds. So, maybe Konsa is the long-term decision that they're going to go with if they have to flip Saliba. But I just don't think anybody's spending 130 million on Saliba right now after this whole debacle that just went on. But we'll see what ends up happening. Jim, what do you make of this whole scenario with with Morgan Rogers and everything going on with the transfers at Arsenal? I still hear your feedback. You got something. You have it playing in the background somewhere.
Sorry. You still hear it?
Yeah, I still hear it.
Oh,
I'll give you a sec. Quaja, are you still there? Or did Quaja bounce out? Oh, I think Quaja might have bounced out. Chike, with Rodri leaving, who would be the midfielders that you would try to look at to bring in? Obviously, Elliot Anderson. We both said that he's not going to make a big difference. And Elliot Anderson, if he's your main guy to replace Rodri, I think you guys are in trouble this season. If you were looking at going after midfielders, who would you be trying to look at to replace Rodri if he does end up bouncing, which it does sound like that is going to happen?
Tchouaméni, Camavinga from Madrid, Adam Wharton from Palace. Those would be my three.
Really, you'd bring Wharton in?
I would. I like Adam Wharton. He's a good player. Is
He is a good player.
No.
I think Wharton would have been a good option had you bought him instead of Anderson. I don't get the whole thing with Anderson, if I'm being quite
I don't
honest.
I genuinely didn't. I don't see what they see in him or saw in him.
I don't either. Pete, real quick, PFC. Listen, I wouldn't be shocked if Rashford goes to Arsenal. Would not be shocked one bit if Rashford ends up going to Arsenal and he's our left winger signing if we get rid of Martinelli. I could totally see that end up happening. It's just I don't think really, to be honest with you, I would love for Rashford to take a pay cut and go back to Aston Villa. Because I think him at Aston Villa would actually work out a lot more with the way that Emery likes to play. Rashford was playing some good ball for Aston Villa. I don't know why people forget this, that he was able to make it work. And I think that when you look at Rashford with what Villa need as far as more goal scoring, especially if Watkins hits the market and Watkins leave, they're going to need some significant goal scorers in order for Villa to stay punching where they're at. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. As far as this, I do not want Romero anywhere near my club as far as Napoli. I know we're linked to him. I do not want him. I do not want him anywhere near Napoli. He's not worth my fucking time. He's a bozo. I don't need him being a hot-headed player when we're trying to chase down Inter with what's going on over there. I honestly expect Romero to go to Inter because we still don't know what the situation and the verdict is going to be on Bastoni. If Bastoni is going to stay at Inter, if they're going to even allow him to play, considering all the investigations going on with him. So my guess is Romero will end up at Inter Milan. I don't think he'll end up at Napoli. And if he does end up at Napoli, I'll be extremely pissed.
But he'll get a red card, trust me.
No-
Another red card waiting to come.
No ex-Tottenham bozos at your club either, right, Gianni?
You know what? I would take Vicario because I think Vicario needs a new scenery in the back. I think he's made some mistakes for Spurs, but I honestly don't think Vicario is as bad as a goalkeeper as people try to say he is. I think it's been the whole scenario around Spurs with what's been going on is why it's negatively impacted Vicario. But we do need a goalkeeper because Meret, he's a bozo. And this Milinkovic Savic that we got from Torino, there's nothing special about him. So I would take him, but I'm not taking Romero, not anywhere close to that. I'll take a chance on Rahmani and Buongiorno again before I deal with Romero's stupidity. That's just my opinion. I don't know if Rashford would go to Spurs. Listen, for him, the question is are you going to give up the money? Because he's on 300-something thousand a week. So that would be the question. Actually, if Rashford wanted to be slick, go to City.
Stay away from City. Please stay away from City.
I think he actually fits you guys.
Yeah, but I don't want any Man U players going to Men's. I don't want any Man U players coming to City. Like, no. Stay as far away from City as possible, please.
So you definitely didn't like Carlos
Yeah,
Tevez
Carlos
or
Tevez.
Hargreaves,
I did like Carlos Tevez, but Tevez is a better player than Marcus Rashford. I mean, it's like we're comparing apples to oranges.
But you don't. But my point is this: I think Rashford as a backup would be better as far as accumulating goals and shit that you guys are going to need than some of the other guys you got. Like for me,
Sure.
Omar Marmoush, if you're not going to play as the secondary striker behind Haaland, there's no point of you being at City anymore. There really
he
is.
should probably bounce. Yeah.
There really isn't. There really is. If you're not going to play backup striker, there's no point of you being at City anymore. That's my honest opinion.
Oh, that's fair. That's very fair.
So I don't know.
I don't know either.
Little snake. I have a perfect keeper for Bayendir, my Turkish read. No, we don't want him either, PFC. PFC, you've been trying to shove all the United shit on Napoli. You wanted me to sign Ugarte, who's a fucking bum, who I don't want anywhere near for that or anything else. But yeah, I don't know. Quasha, what do you make of the whole Morgan Rogers situation in terms of, were you upset that he ended up going to Chelsea? Are you shocked that he went to Chelsea in the manner that he did? Or do you think it's a situation where I think the uncomfortable thing is he saw Saka, Eze, and Rice looking like they've been ran into the ground, and he does not want to fall into that same situation with Arteta. And I'm saying this because let's all remember something. Yes, Chelsea put the money down. PSG was in for him. I think Morgan Rogers understands that he needs to have a good little spell at Chelsea and that he could get a big money move, because I think Rogers is one of the best young English players there is right now. And I think that he is very focused on getting into one of the bigger teams. Yes, Chelsea is a big team, but I think Rogers has ambitions to maybe try to crack it at a PSG, a Bayern Munich, a Real, or a Barcelona down the line. Are you shocked that he chose Chelsea over Arsenal, or do you think, everything considered, it makes sense?
To be honest with you, I just felt like we weren't going to get him. I mean, everyone's like, oh, we were linked to him and that. We didn't even send a bid. What's the point in saying you being linked to Morgan Rogers if we don't send a bid? If we'd actually gone out there and sent a bid, but then got hijacked by Chelsea, I would have gone, you know what? It's devastating. But to be honest with you, I am angry. But you got news coming out saying, oh, Rogers wants Arsenal. Rogers wants Arsenal. What kind of idiots out there want to chat rubbish about, oh, Rogers was coming to Arsenal, this crap shit coming out of hand of Arsenal. Oh, Rogers had a direct contact with Arteta. Where's the evidence? Are you just spouting out waffle just to make sure you get more followers, more views, and all this crap? Brother, this is embarrassing. I mean, Arteta, if Arteta had bought Morgan Rogers, he would use him as a left winger, not a number 10, because I think he's good as a number 10. But the problem is, if we're going to actually use Morgan Rogers properly, surely he should start in the number 10 role. But Arteta will use him as a winger because, you know, he can track back and, you know, he can cut in on that right. He can go in that left-hand side. He can cut in on the right and score. But for me, I was surprised that Chelsea were going to get him. I wasn't expected that. I had to look on the news and, yeah, Morgan Rogers went to Chelsea. I'm like, we should have sent a bid. But it's okay, Gianni, because it's all Andre Bert's fault, innit? So let's just put all the blame on Andre Bert's fault. I mean, all the top goons are now saying he's on fraud watch and all this crap. Oh, but he's the problem.
How
Like,
can,
I'm not blaming.
Berta be on fraud watch when if it wasn't for his signings, we wouldn't have won the fucking league?
It makes no sense. It's just that 1 minute he's a genius. Now in the next minute he's on fraud watch. No, it's because we didn't get Rodgers and all this crap. I'm like, let's be real. You can't just blame a sporting director. I mean, let's be real. He's not Edu. Edu's worse than him. Edu bought scrubs and put them on crap wages.
Edu's one of the worst sporting directors there are.
Yeah.
The guy didn't even last a full season at Nottingham Forest, and it went to shit. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't get the whole thing when you look at the whole situation with Berta as far as that. As far as this with RSV, I disagree. The winger market is not thin. The winger market is thin if you're looking at one specific place, which is the Premier League. You can go to Spain right now. There's 5 to 10 wingers that you could look at that could get into Arsenal.
Yeah.
There's players all around. Again, this is what I mean by it almost seems that social media has become the scouting department of every single club. There's far more players out here. You have the Moroccan kid that missed the World Cup that'll be healthy for Real Betis, Ila Zuli. He's a baller. Yeah. Same thing with Molero at Villarreal. Yes, they weren't. Turkey was the flop of the tournament at the World Cup, but you can't sit here and tell me that the market's thin when you have Akturkoglu, Barış Yilmaz, and Yunus Akın as well. The market is flush with talent. The question is are you going to go outside of the comfort zone of just looking at the Premier League? There's plenty of talent all throughout the other leagues to look at. You know, you have Malik Fofana, that's the young Belgium stud at Lyon, who's another winger that you could get that's for decent money, if not, you know, crazy, super crazy money like what you're being seen. So for me, no, I think the situation is that we're just getting caught up in the over dramatization of this transfer window with what's going on.
It's okay, Gianni. It's just because but the excuses are, but it's 117 million. Oh, it's too expensive. Well, right now in market, not a single player's worth below 100 million pounds. You see Elliot Anderson, 160 million. Like, it doesn't matter. It's the price. If you want to get in, go and send a bid, and you'll get the player. Like,
no, 100%. Like here, Darren said it earlier. Like, and to go along with Manny, right? They're talking Bruno Guimaraes, 80 million. I'm sorry. I'm taking Yuri Tielemans over Bruno Guimaraes. I don't give a shit what nobody says. Yuri Tielemans, from the time with Leicester City winning an FA Cup, consistently showing up, scores goals, can play both the 8 and the number 10, and now has done what he's done at Aston Villa. I think he's a better player than Bruno Guimaraes, in my opinion. Guimaraes, the other thing that everyone's failing to realize is we're talking about Rice being injured. Guimaraes has had his own fair share of injuries at his time at Newcastle as well. And the guy's 28. And if you look at it, this is the other thing that I don't understand. If you go get Bruno Guimaraes, you got him and Rice aging at the exact same time that are big money players. If you go get Bruno Guimaraes for 80 million, you've spent 180 million on your double pivot. That within a possible 3 years, you're going to be looking to move on because of injuries and because of age. So it doesn't make any sense to look at a player from that perspective of guys who are aging at the same time. Look at Liverpool. Liverpool won the one trophy with Klopp, and look how far it took them to retool that midfield and retool the team to be able to go back and win again. That's not what we should be doing. That's another reason why I'm not a big fan of Guimaraes. Tielemans, sure, he's the same age, but again, like Manny said, it's 30 million. Who dropped the fucking ball on that one? To get a player of the quality of Tielemans for 30 million is absolutely a disgrace.
Funny enough, that he was free when his contract expired at Leicester City, we could have got him on a free, but we didn't. So
yeah, I mean That's one thing to look at as far as the free, but that's so many years ago now. I'm not even looking at it at that because of how far back in the distance it was. My simple thing is this. We're talking about the market's overinflated, but again, the guy had a $30 million release clause. In an inflated market for the players that the same clubs are looking at the same players, you should look outside the box to try to save money, especially in the scenario we're in right now, showing that PSR is a problem. I mean, if you tell me you would have went out and got Yuri Tielemans for $30 million, and then you go and get another guy who's a defensive midfielder who's going to be the backup for Rice for 6 months, and maybe combined you spend $60 million on the two of them, that's good business. Not $80 million for Guimaraes, who we don't know if he's going to make it through a full season healthy. And we're probably going to have to be playing Guimaraes out of position for the first month or so because we need Declan Rice to recover. So again, that's why for me, I'm cool with I would have been cool with Tielemans. Again, that's what you need at this situation.
For me, Bruno G's not even a 6. He's a number 8. That's his best position. He's more of a box to box.
100% it's his best position.
Eddie Howe put him in Eddie Howe's fault. I mean, Tonali for me is not a number 6. He's a number 8. It's just Eddie Howe put Tonali as a 6.
Well, he was always a number 8. Even in Italy, he was a number 8. That's the thing. I don't understand why Eddie Howe overdid that. People forget it was I can't believe he plays in Saudi right now with Al Ali. Frank Kessie. Frank Kessie and Ismail Benacer were the two defensive midfielders for AC Milan. It wasn't Tonali. Again, I say this all the time. Kessie and Tonali played very similar to how Gattuso and Pirlo would be. Tonali would get on the ball deep, but he would be allowed to go further, and Kessie would drop deep to be the number 6 to protect Tonali when AC Milan was playing that way. I don't understand why we keep forgetting all this situation of what's been going on with this. So it is what it is as far as that. I want either Kone or Scott as the third midfielder. Honestly, I'm taking Kone. I've seen Kone for longer. I've seen Kone for the last few years between Borussia Mönchengladbach and Roma. I am not one of these guys that believes in the one-year wonder, let's pay crazy amounts of money. I'd rather see Scott do it again at Bournemouth and pay $20 million more and make him a $100 million player if he proves it, rather than $80 million and he could shit the bed. And now you're stuck with another crazy amount of money that you've lost on a player that may not, get to the level of what you're looking at. So I don't know as far as that. But
I mean, does anyone know about Norgard? I mean, he's a sensible signing. Where's he been? I mean, everyone was telling us, he's Prem proven and he's sensible signing. How did that go? I mean, he would have been a perfect squad player, but obviously Arteta would rather have the Spanish Jordan Henderson and Martin Zubimendi, who for me has never been a number 6. I mean, if you look at him during the start of the season, he played well, but after that he just fell apart. I mean, he was playing number 6. He put Rice in the number 8, and let's be real, guys. Declan Rice has never been a number 8. He's always been a number 6. He can do the defensive work. I mean, when he played Rice 6 MLS as a 10. It worked because Rice did the defensive work. He can allow Lewis Skelly to drive with the ball forward. Declan Rice can just sit back with the 2 centre-backs. He can just do up the defensive work, and it works. I mean, everyone's saying, but he's an all-round midfield player. I don't think he's a box-to-box. He's a 6. He's always been a 6 during his times at West Ham United. It's Arteta who plays him as a number 8 when he's never been an 8. When do you see him be a number 8? Barella is a number 8. Fede Valverde is a number 8. Pedri is a number 8. João Neves is a number 8. Those are the number 8s in the world. Declan Rice is not even a number 8. He's always been a 6. I mean, Gianni, I know this sounds crazy, but should we guys, sign for Fede Valverde? I mean, that would be a good option. Would you sign Fede Valverde?
I'd say I'd slap $100 million on the table for Fede Valverde over fucking Bruno Guimaraes any day of the week. But again, I don't think Fede Valverde will ever leave Real Madrid, if I'm being quite honest with you. The guy's the co-captain, if not the captain of it. For me, if I'm going to spend 70, 80 million on a number 8, I'm looking at Nicolo Barella. I'm looking at somebody who's at the level of where we're looking to try to go. Yes, Inter didn't win a Champions League, but look at the amount of trophies that Barella has racked up at his time at Inter. I believe it's 9 or 10 trophies that he won. I want somebody like that. Guimaraes, cool. You got a League Cup for Newcastle. but you're the captain. You're inconsistent. Let's also point this out too. Guimaraes is also very inconsistent. Let's just not look at this from a situation of this, and this. No, the guy's been very inconsistent. There is no reason. The proof is in the pudding. You make Champions League one year, but then you fall back to 15th. Then you make Champions League the next year, then you fall back to 15th. I'm sorry. That's why I'm also not a believer in this nonsense of paying crazy money for this guy. Again, to Manny's point, if you'd have told me Bruno Guimaraes for $80 million or a $31 million release clause for Tielemans, give me Tielemans all day long. Give me Tielemans all day long. I disagree with anybody who's going to try to make that argument for Guimaraes, in my opinion. That's why I don't think it works out. Like here, if Guimaraes is going to go to Chelsea, so what? That now means Enzo Fernandez is going to go? Because that midfield ain't going to work out over those three. I don't see how that even pans out. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know, in my personal opinion. I just think that there's smarter ways to move. There's smarter ways to move in this transfer window than to just be going after what everybody else is going after.
I mean, if Rodri's now Rodri's out, obviously your boy Chike, your boy Rodri's now out. I think he's had a back surgery. I mean, I think it could mean that it could be a Nico Gonzalez, Elliot Anderson, maybe double pivot. That could be the midfield. And I don't think it's enough to win the league. I don't think Nico Gonzalez is that guy to be the number 6. I mean, he had a good start to the season when Rodri was out, but don't get me wrong, I thought he was decent. But I just feel like, for me, he's more of a number 8 than he's to a number 6. I just feel like Nico Gonzalez, for me, can play that number 8. I mean, Pep used him as a 6. Could see he didn't have an actual number 6. I mean, I don't rate Rico Lewis that highly. I don't think he's that great of a player. Chike, do you rate Rico Lewis? Nah, he's not that great, is he? I mean, Pep tried to use him in midfield. Obviously, John Stones worked out, but yeah, I think City have a good front line, but their midfield needs to improve because Rodri out is going to be a huge miss for City because the way
And
he plays for
defensively.
Spain, wow, yeah, I think their
He's also
defense
got-
needs to improve. Yeah,
No, I was just going to say Spain defensively are really good. I mean, they've only conceded 1 goal, and a lot of their players all play in Spain, so there's a bunch of chemistry there. But yeah, just defensively is where we need at least 2 center backs, at least 2 fullbacks. We should probably get more than that because I want strength and depth, which apparently seems to be a big thing now. Oh yeah, you can play 2 squads. Well, show me.
are you happy with
Yeah, I'm
Elliot
just not
Anderson?
One more time.
Are you happy with Elliot Anderson signing? Do you think that he will do well for Manchester City?
I'm happy with the signing. I am not happy that it cost 116 million pounds, which I don't even know if you converted that to dollars. That's got to be at least $100 million.
No, it's 100. It's like 130.
Oh,
It's like
fuck.
130 million US dollars for what they paid for.
I still think he's a quality player. I think he could be, if we had Elliot Anderson, I would have been happy with it. Rice 6, Anderson 8, as a 10, that would have worked. But nah,
There's not enough
you didn't think
creativity.
it worked.
Yeah, there's no creativity.
There's no creativity. Elliot Anderson and
Anderson
Rice.
box to box?
Elliot Anderson and Rice work together if you're playing counterattacking. Elliot Anderson doesn't have enough about him going forward. That's why I would take Tielemans. Tielemans can not only link the midfield, the defensive side to the offensive side. He also brings long range shooting. Tielemans also brings long range shooting. Like here for Arsenal, Tielemans would have been awesome if you have Rice at complete health because the long range shots that Zubamendi had been taking throughout the season, Tielemans can dunk on Zubamendi with long range shooting. And when you think about the fact that Gyökeres is a true number 9, you should have gotten a guy like Tielemans that could put a shot on goal, and you have a guy like Gyökeres who's there for the rebounds. That's the reason why I look at it that we missed out on Tielemans. With Bruno G, he can shoot, but he's nowhere near as accurate shooting as Tielemans is. Nowhere near.
Who's the better passer, Tielemans or Bruno G? Who's the better passer?
Me personally, I'm taking Tielemans. I think Tielemans is a better player than Bruno G.
Yeah, I get your point.
Again, Bruno G. Here, Newcastle, people argue, had one of the best midfields in the Premier League at the 3 with Tonali, Guimaraes, and Joelinton, right?
Yeah, Joe.
Outside of a League Cup, they've made Champions League twice in 4 years and have been in the bottom half of the table for the other 2 out of the 4 years. That alone on that inconsistency for me shows that Bruno G isn't up to par, and he's the captain. Him and Joelinton are the 2 captains of the team. So for me, I'm not a believer in that. Tielemans, like I said, you look at some of the goals Tielemans has scored for Aston Villa, he's been phenomenal. And really in the offensive phase of the game, Tielemans and Rodgers have been the 2 best players for Aston Villa the last 2 seasons. I mean, the game against Arsenal where we beat them 4-1. If Onana doesn't get injured, Tielemans and Onana bossed that midfield like it was nothing. We should have been down 2-3-0 in the first half in that game. We're lucky that Ollie Watkins didn't know how to fucking put a ball in the back of the net. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of Tielemans is the better player for what we need, which is we're going to need more goals to score this season. If Saliba's out for as long as he is, do you think we're only conceding 27 goals again?
It could be maybe 34 or 40, something like that, but we'll see how it goes.
40-something goals conceded with only 71 goals scored is not going to work, especially when you consider the amount of 1-0s, the amount of games that we won either 1-0 or by 1 goal. Saliba being gone, those turn into draws to where we don't win the fucking league. That's the reason why, for me, I'm taking Tielemans over Bruno G, because offensively he's better, and that's the department that we need to improve. Manny, what's your opinion? Do you think Tielemans is better than Bruno G, or am I crazy?
I wouldn't say you're crazy at all. I mean, both of them obviously are 2 sort of different styles of players. You wouldn't necessarily associate Tielemans with the type of ball carrying ability that Guimaraes would have, for instance. But one thing about Tielemans, this guy is sort of like a line breaker. You could almost compare him to kind of, say, a quarterback in NFL parlance. Yep. Those line breaking passes that he is able to create or pull off, I mean, they're just amazing, and they've been a big source of goals for Aston Villa over the years. And of course, if you saw the Europa League final, I mean, that goal which opened the scoring. I mean, he just met it so sweetly with that right foot of his and connected it. It probably wasn't necessarily the type of top bins goal which would have people oohing and eyeing, but just that technical perfection. It was, chef's kiss, of course. And I know how much you love your food as well. You'll know all about the chef's kiss and and everything else. So, that's the thing about Tielemans. I mean, he's sort of a deceptively world-class sort of player. You won't think that he'll be that type of person who you would expect to do the work that a 6 would do. But he plays the 8, and as you mentioned, he can also play the 10, although, Emery prefers to use him really more as an 8. Not really in the 10 when he can have someone like a Buendia or a Rodgers in that position. So, I would agree, especially when you consider that we played our best football, Gianni, playing the 4-2-3-1. And I think it's high time we have to consider going back to that. I don't want to be in a situation where we play a 4-3-3. And that's another issue, because if we stick with the same 4-3-3 issue where we crap the bed every now and then, playing musical chairs on who's going to go up front, Tielemans could very well end up being, I think, I wouldn't say wasted, but he may feel completely out of place in that position. So it was just as well that, when we made an inquiry for him, Aston Villa told us to go do one. And because we were so stupid and failed to do our due diligence, we didn't even consider that there was a release clause. So it isn't just a question of, being a little bit lazy and ignorant. We're also incompetent. What sort of scouting department, when it comes to a big club, fails to do its due diligence? So to answer your question briefly, yes, I would have Tielemans over Bruno G. But as with Morgan Rodgers, I'm glad that Tielemans isn't with us. Because if he gets played in the wrong system, then, you're not going to get the best out of it. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. No, agreed. And even with Belgium, it's also in the 4-2-3-1, don't forget. So he's very much a part of that. See, I agree with you. Not only for that, I think we need to play the 4-2-3-1 because of the fact that Saka needs to be closer to goal, and he cannot be playing this defensive nonsense anymore. I'm sorry. Me personally, the reason why I was pushing for Rodgers, it's not the fact that I like Rodgers, that I want Rodgers to be converted to a left winger. I think what's hurting Arsenal going forward is the fact that we don't play a rotating of 3-10s behind the striker, particularly because of the type of striker we picked up in Gyökeres. He needs majority of the work to be done so that he's just there to put the finishing touch and put the ball in the back of the net. That's why, like, for me, you tell me we have Saka, Eze, and Rodgers as rotating 10s underneath the striker. There should be plenty of opportunities for Gyökeres to be a 20-plus goal scorer in the Premier League every single season with that. If you're telling me that we're going to play 4-3-3 and we're going to move Rodgers to play left wing in that, then no, I'm not spending $117 million to put Rodgers out of position to where now all of a sudden you just don't know what's going to end up happening. So for me, at the end of the day, I don't know. The Rodgers thing more so for me, it's the same thing with what I've said with the links to Vinny Jr. It's more of the intent. Arsenal going and putting $117 million and matching Chelsea for Rodgers is the intent. It shows that we are progressing as a football club and trying to be taken serious with the rest of the big boys. Big teams do not do this type of shit where they come in and then they say, you know what, we won the title. Let's back off and let everything go and reassess the situation. We shouldn't be doing what we're doing right now. As far as this question, PFC, I think John McGinn is a class player, if I'm being quite honest with you. I think McGinn's better than a lot of players in the Premier League. And again, like Manny has said before, because he plays for Aston Villa, he doesn't get the time of day, but he's better than a lot of players. I think McGinn is a very quality player, to be quite honest with you. And like I said, I think Aston Villa is a quality winger and number 10 midfielder away from still being just as good as what they were last season. I think they need to make a design. The kid that they got from Freiburg that they spend a good bit of money on, I don't know too much about him. I have seen some clips on him. He does look quality, but I think he's going to need some time to transition to the Premier League. But I do think that they are a good quality. Like, for example, if Aston Villa went and put the money down and they got Chico Conceição from Juventus, I think Aston Villa is still a big problem if they added a guy like Conceição to the team. Because, yes, he doesn't score as many goals as Rodgers, but his creativity is going to open up the lanes for everybody else to score more goals with him. I think Conceição would be a fantastic signing for Aston Villa. And for me, would be a fantastic signing for Arsenal as well.
How did that bum Roberto Martinez not start him? I have no idea. In that Portugal, he started Pedro Neto ahead of Conceição. Made no sense. That bum Martinez would rather have that scrub Neto over Conceição. It made no sense. It just baffles me. I mean, imagine not starting Trincao ahead of Rafael Leao. It's baffling.
See, that's somebody I would have looked at. I would have taken Trincao.
Yeah.
I would have taken Trincao with the damn team, to be quite honest with you. Again, this is why I say that it feels like there's no real scouting being done anymore for teams, that it's really that like Instagram, TikTok, and all these other stupid fucking social media sites is what's really the scouting department for these big teams, because it just doesn't make any sense to why this is going on with looking at these crazy freaking players. I don't know.
Social media will be the death of football and the majority of all sports.
I know this ain't happening, and that is kind of true. I know this ain't happening, and this is pointless for me even saying this, but if we had some balls, we'd go sign Kubarsi as Saliba's replacement while he's out. But he won't. He's not only not going to leave Barcelona, but again, you have to look at it like this. Kubarsi is probably the best defender Barcelona has. So why would he come to Arsenal if he knows in 6 months he's losing his position? Because Kubarsi, as good as he is, he's not better than Saliba. He's just not.
No, he's not better than Saliba.
He's just not better than Saliba.
The interesting thing about Kubarsi, though, guys, I mean, obviously, last season in the Champions League, Barcelona didn't exactly make it to the latter stages. And a lot of people were sort of critical of the tactics that Hansi Flick was using. It's sort of like a high line for life. But Kubarsi was left very badly exposed. It could very well be that, the manager was the issue there, because I certainly don't think that De La Fuente would have even considered using that system. He knew how to get the best out of Kubarsi. But then, it could very well be that maybe he just needed a different manager. But again, I would like to see him actually develop a little bit more at Barcelona, because that club is actually due a Champions League title. It's been so long since they've won it, and they need to sort of break that Messi curse in a way. But, that was what I was wondering. How could this kid who, was exposed horribly, and I think he got sent off in one of the knockout rounds in the Champions League, right? I think he did. So
Yes.
how could this kid recover from that and go on to put on the defensive masterclass at the World Cup? It obviously had to be the coach, but it could very well be that unless if that as long as Hansi Flick is still the manager at Barcelona, he may decide that he might want to leave, because I don't even know if he will want to, adapt to that sort of a highline system and be exposed when he can join another club that might be more defensive. So, if Arteta likes him and can use him in some aspect, then there's no reason why we shouldn't go for him in the near future.
No, 100%. Listen, I think Kubarsi is going to be one of the best defenders in Europe within the next couple of years, if I'm being quite honest with you. I think the problem with Barcelona is you can't play, in my personal opinion, you cannot play high line if you're trying to play a guy like Frankie de Jong as your number 6. Frankie de Jong, for me, isn't defensive enough as a number 6 in order to be able to aid out in that high line. And on top of that, I think de Jong has had so many freaking injuries is that his legs are shot. He can't cover the ground anymore either. The other problem also is when you look at the situation between why Spain looks so good. Number one, Rodri went back to Ballon d'Or status at the World Cup, but also, for all those who don't believe me, we'll say it louder for you in the back, Aymeric Laporte is the best fucking defensive center back that Manchester City had. He's not that fucking bum Ruben Diaz who got exposed for being overrated at this World Cup, which is, I've been saying Diaz has been overrated.
Bro, he's massively overrated, bro.
He didn't
he's
even
the
play.
Portuguese
That
been
tells you everything you
overrated.
need
He's
to.
been
Well,
overrated
if he
since he
did play,
came to
the
Manchester
majority of the
City.
goals came from his side. Which
Bro,
Gianni
Chique,
doesn't
he's
put
just
apart.
another Tarkovsky. He's just the Portuguese version of James Tarkovsky. That's
Yeah.
just who he is. He's
Laporte-
a spicy Tarkovsky.
If you look at Aymeric Laporte is not like any of the defenders that Manchester City has. First of all, when you see Laporte get on the ball, he's not nervous. Anytime in that World Cup, where did you see Kubarsi or Laporte nervous on the ball with one another? They looked completely in control every single freaking time. Every time they looked as if they were in control, nothing could bother them. They kept it moving. Like for me right now, Aymeric Laporte is 32 years old. I'd go sign him for cheap from Athletic Bilbao and put him in place for Saliba for 6 months and then address the situation coming back from that. I'd rather go get somebody who's actually experienced. Yeah, no, Sean, this is what we were saying with Chique. Manchester City needs a whole new defense. They need a left back and they need another center back. Mark Gahey, I think, is a decent center back. Kushinov, I do not believe in. All he is some fucking jagoff that can run with pace. He's like a center back version of Kyle Walker. That's all he's there for, is to have track back, is to have
recovery pace.
Tracking back. That's it. All it is recovery
I hate
pace.
this
He is
recovery
not
pace
that good
shit.
of a center back.
Nope.
He's not that good of a center back.
Gianni, I grew up watching Ricardo Carvalho. Ruben Diaz can't even lace Carvalho's boots, bruv. Not even close.
Brother, Ruben Diaz can't tie fucking, oh my God.
He can't tie so many players.
He can't tie like Aymeric
I'm gonna
Laporte
bounce, guys,
shoes.
because I'm gonna eat and get up early. So thank you for
Big
having
up,
me. On.
Chique.
Big up Chique, man.
Big up, Chique.
Big up,
Yes,
guys.
Chique.
I don't think, Aymeric Laporte, to me, City should have never let him go. City should have never let him go. Like this whole talk about John Stones going for free. I'd pay 20 million euros to Bilbao to get Laporte for 2 years.
Yeah.
Why not? You know, I just don't buy into this nonsense. PFC is freaking classic. I will never go to AFTV. I will never go to AFTV. That is not something that I am worried about. Yeah, Eros, it is scouting players on Instagram. You can't. That's the problem. Is you got players that are quality in different leagues that will not get the look because they're not in the same scenario as what we're seeing right now with the likes of Fabrizio Romano and all these other guys. Again, here, another perfect example. Mario Gilla, hands down one of the best center backs in Italy for the last 3 years since he was a youngster coming out of Real Madrid's academy. He went to AC Milan for 30 million euros. Why couldn't we get him as a potential backup, since we like to use Mosquera as a right back, to deploy him as a right back or a center back backup? Why couldn't we sign Gila, especially now when you consider you're going to need to sign a decent center back to fill out 6 months worth of football because of Saliba's injury? It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Manny, what do you make of this whole bullshit about these injuries that have gone on with William Saliba right now? I mean, a fractured back is absolutely ridiculous. A fractured back is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I understand why they don't want to push for the surgery, because back surgery doesn't always go the right way. And when you consider the injury, you're basically talking about spinal fusion at a young age right now for Saliba. So I get it. But at the same time, I do not want to see Saliba getting rushed back, because if you rush him back, there's no guarantee that he's going to make it out through the year. What do you make the whole situation with Saliba? Yeah. I mean, it's really a disgrace, isn't it?
You know what angers me so much about this, and I'm glad you asked that, is that I think we can all agree that one of the things about this World Cup is that we've seen a disproportionate number of players playing with injuries, and you can only really criticize the national team coaches for not doing their due diligence when it comes to checking the fitness of certain players, because some of these players have been quite pivotal. You've really got to criticize Didier Deschamps, in my opinion, because if you do not trust Ibrahim Konate to start for you in the centre-back position, and I wouldn't trust him either, because it's just as well that he's left Liverpool. I think he's been absolutely poor and inconsistent these past 2 seasons. But then why would you pick him for France and then put yourself at a big risk by not starting Saliba? Ideally, if you see Saliba's condition, which was made horrible by Arteta, and then you play him in every single game, and then he crumples to the ground. I think it was in the semi-final against Spain, and then that's it. You pretty much mucked up your whole game plan. And then you have Lacroix coming in, and then he played as if he hung on Lacroix, if you will. And he didn't really do very much. And then, of course, against England, the less said about him, the better. And I think we can also agree, Mike Maignan won a Scudetto with AC Milan, but completely overrated AF. But then, if you, as a manager, as a national team manager, it is your damn responsibility to, make sure that you do your due diligence on your better players and find out and take a decision because the back injury, as you say, Gianni, is exceptionally severe. It's going to limit your movement, and at its worst, you may not even be able to get up, for Pete's sake. You can't even arise from your damn bed. You can't do any basic exercises, and yet you want to stick him in the center for the majority of your campaign. And that's why Didier Deschamps, apart from his subservience towards Kylian Mbappe, which people refuse to see, and I really think the next manager has to start putting Mbappe in his place, but that's another thing altogether. The next manager has now got to really, do his due diligence and say, if you've got a bad injury, as bad as that, I'm not going to play you. So we can blame Arteta all we want, but Deschamps has also made the situation worse. And now we're running a risk of, surgery or no surgery. He's going to be out for 5 months. And so if I were in his position, I'd have the surgery and sort of be out more or less at the same time, because at least I'll give myself a better, chance of recovery. We've seen Leandro Paredes play with a cracked rib. Emi Martinez broke his finger in the warm-up for the Europa League final. He decided against surgery because he wanted to play in the World Cup. And he ended up having a magnificent performance in the final with 11 saves, including a save from a free kick from Yamal and another fine save from Nico Williams. That chap didn't deserve to be on the losing side. And if I was unhappy for Argentina, sad for them, it was because of that guy and also for Lionel Messi. But then playing through injuries, and if you have that, it's bad enough that we have to deal with a butcher in Arteta, but the national team managers also have to hold their hands up and say, we've made the situation worse. And thanks to Deschamps, as well as Arteta, we've now got him out for the best part of 5 months. So how do we replace a guy like him? It's just as well that we have someone like Christian Mosquera, but let's also forget Jurrien Timber. That poor chap was supposed to go to the World Cup. And in the 2 seasons that he's been here with Arsenal, Arteta has been responsible for his injuries. Plays him at left back. The poor chap crocks his knee. He's out for almost a whole season. Next season, he doesn't really fare better. He's rushed on in the Champions League final because Mosquera, defecated the bed, conceded the penalty, and he had to be brought off. And now he made it so much worse that Ronald Koeman took the decision that he just couldn't risk having Jurrien Timber in that squad. And if I were in Timber's shoes, I'd say, you know what, Arteta, I will never forgive you for what you did to me with regard to playing me this way, running me into the ground, and making me miss my World Cup. And then we don't need to talk anymore about Declan Rice and Saka, but Saliba, if you look at it, Gianni, he is literally the glue that holds our defense together.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about how Gabriel is supposed to be this dominant centre back in the air and supposed to be the one who literally drives everything, but Saliba holds it together. He's overcome his bozo moments when he's been caught out of play. And he's gone back to that position, the aware defender that we all loved. And now without him, how do we plug that gap? It's no wonder that we're going for someone like an Ezri Konsa, but knowing Emery as well as we do, he's going to tell us to go do one once again. There's no way he would want to help the club that drummed him out gleefully. He might just give us the middle finger. And Konsa's also Aston Villa vice captain, so you can rule that out. So we're now going to have to look around and scout around for some decent defenders, if not in the Premiership, then maybe a little bit closer in Europe to try and plug that gap. And again, it goes back to the fact that we don't have a good scouting network. They don't do their due diligence. And so we're going to be in this sort of problem. Compare that to Aston Villa. They've got Konsa and Torres, and they've also got someone like Victor Lindelof, the Swedish captain. If he's unable to play in the defence, just stick him in midfield as a defensive midfielder. It worked brilliantly for them near the end of the season. Absolute masterclass.
And now there's talk they may get Todibo for cheap from West Ham, so they'll have a decent little squad rotation as far as for the defenders as well for Aston Villa. I don't think that's the greatest thing.
That makes me angry, because at least if we were going to look for a decent defender, it will show that we have some intent. But then it's like whichever club we're trying to approach to get a defender, we're being told to just bugger off. Mm-hmm. So how far do we cast our net? We're incapable of casting our net. And as bad as Edu was, I think unless we get our act together this season, we could be almost as bad as the toe sucker during that era. And that's really what worries me.
Yeah, the main worry for me is not only with these injuries, again, it's the situation with the injuries and everything else is more so along the lines of you can't really sign players because of injuries, because in 6 to 7 months it potentially is going to be a problem in the locker room because guys are going to want to play. That's the whole reason why I'm holding off on saying, let's go get Konsa. One, like you said, Emery would tell the board, tell them to go fuck off. We need to hold on to him because we need to continue to be in the fight for top 4, and then on top of that, it's also a scenario of, okay, well, you sign Konsa for 6 months. Like you said, he's the vice captain of Villa. The vice captain of Villa is not going to come to Arsenal if he knows in 6 months his playing time is going to go from good to dog shit. It's just not going to happen, And again, to add to the problems that we're having with PSR, why would you want your backup center back to be worth 60 fucking million? What here? Actually, I want to look this up just because of wages, because they want 60 million for Konsa, and then you think about what he's getting paid as far as the salary with our history here. Konsa, this is actually a steal. Konsa's on £75,000 a week at Aston Villa, which is actually really good because I think Konsa's a decent center back, if I'm being quite honest with you. But you're looking at the situation of you want Konsa. Well, our history, we're going to double that. With the way we end up paying players, we'll double that. So Konsa, you can bet he'll be on £150,000, £165,000 a week, and he's going to cost £60 million on top of it. In 6 months, it's a waste of money because if Saliba comes back and he's back up to par, Konsa's not going to get a game. And if he does get a game, it's because we're going to move him out to the right back position because we've ran Jurrien Timber into the ground. which is a travesty. And it'll just be a matter of time before Konsa gets ran into the ground, and we're like, well, was that 60 million even really worth it? So I don't know, man. I don't know. Tabo, my guy, man. I hope your summer's going okay. What do you you're a Man United fan. What do you make of some of the signings that you guys made? You think you guys are going to be okay this season, or do you want to see more signings from Man U?
More signings, my brother. More signings. From what we've done at the moment, I think Tillemans makes it a complete different dynamic now.
Mm-hmm.
But so far so good. I'm just looking for more signings. For now, we'll just wait and see, because I think the board themselves are they're quite close, not opening up towards who they want to sign at the moment. So surprisingly, we don't know who's gonna be entering the door. So let's just wait and see. For now, but I'm so surprised when it comes to the transfer market at the moment. Things are happening. It's just been the most funniest transfer window I've ever seen in my entire life, brother. I'm not gonna lie, Gianni. It's been surprisingly, but I guess we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Do you think a lot of people are trying to say United's going to be in for a title run this year? I think United.
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't.
I think United's definitely in a top 4 battle.
Top four battle, yeah.
But what I think a lot of people need to realize is I don't know if England's going to get the coefficient this year when you think about it, because Sunderland, Brighton, Bournemouth, and Crystal Palace, I don't know if those teams are going to go as far in Europe as we've seen in the past with the other English teams that have better squads in general. So I think United, if United was to go 3rd place back to back and maybe pick up a League Cup or an FA Cup this year, I think that's a good season for them. If I'm being,
I think a Carabao Cup and top 4 will do for me. I'm not going to be too fussy on Carrick. I just wish he has a good season, because I know for a fact by December time, Man United fans will be just turning their heads upside down when it comes to Carrick. I know how they are. You know what? You know every single fan. They just pushing for better management, better squad, better. It all depends on just the backroom staff. All depends on the backroom staff on how they scouting, which players they looking for. So that will also play in a role, and also the injuries.
Yeah,
that also works. But let's just wait and see, guys. I'm not gonna comment today. I'm just looking at. I'm not gonna comment. I'm just gonna look at whatever that's gonna happen when it comes to the transfer. I'm open for surprises.
Yeah,
I'm really open for surprises at this particular moment.
No, I hear that. To a couple questions here with Sean, would you take Coop Miners? Yes. I would take Coop Miners because I think Juventus has played him in the wrong position the whole time he's been there. I would take him as a bench player for Arsenal. He's more of a number 8. He worked really well as a box-to-box guy with Atalanta. Yes, he's a little bit more attacking, but I would take him because he'd go for a cheap option because Juventus need to get rid of him. So we'll see as that. As far as this, Sean, I personally do not want to see Pep Guardiola as the manager of Italy. And here are my reasons why. I don't know if Pep Guardiola is going to be given the tools. The only reason why you sign Pep Guardiola is if Pep Guardiola is going to influence the changing of the guard of how Italy is going to play football. If we're going to start playing more brand of football like Pep Guardiola from the youth academies all the way down and start getting the league to play more football like him, okay, I could see it, but I don't really see it going that way. and this is the same thing that I said about Jurgen Klopp's hire for Germany. Jurgen Klopp's brand of football, you need to be training day in and day out to learn his brand of football. Klopp is not going to get Germany to play heavy metal football with only 6 days of training every 2 months. I'm sorry. It's just not going to work that way. And when you look at the quality level of players that Germany have, it ain't happening. So, and the other thing, to go back to Pep Guardiola could come in and take over Italy. Again, if the politics of Italy don't go away, it doesn't matter who you bring in as the manager. They're not going to have the control and the say-so that they want. Pep's talking about he wants $20 million a year. For an international manager, I'm sorry, I'm not paying you $20 million a year. You've been getting crazy amounts of money for 10 plus years. You don't need that at the international level. I'm sorry. You just don't. And again, like I said, I honestly as well, I don't know if I want a foreign manager coaching Italy, because again, we are Italy. We are determined, and we are supposed to be in a fight for a trophy every single time an international tournament that we're involved in comes around. So I don't know if I want an international manager as far as me. Again, the situation for me is this. If you want to go more modern, get a younger manager. Rafael Palladino is available, who had a very good stint at Atalanta, a very good stint in Fiorentina, and a very good stint at Monza. He plays more of the forward-thinking brand of football nowadays, and he's a younger manager. So I would take a look at Rafael Palladino. I would still look at Roberto Mancini. The problem is, at the end of the day, is if I'm Italy, if you can make a deal with Pep Guardiola to where he's going to be involved from the youth process up, then I invest in Guardiola. If he's not going to be given that type of time, there's no reason for us to even be bothering him, in my opinion. That's my opinion on the international thing. As far
But
as
then wasn't Mancini supposed to be done and dusted, though? I think because obviously after the debacle of not qualifying for the World Cup and Gattuso getting canned, you were supposed to get him, right?
So they don't know who they want. So the short list right now is Andrea Pirlo, Antonio Conte, Roberto Mancini, and now Pep Guardiola has been thrown into the mix as well, because apparently Maldini flew to Barcelona to talk to Pep. I have no problem with Mancini retaking over the team. The thing is this. When we didn't qualify under Mancini, it's the bitch of football. Because if you watch the game between North Macedonia and Italy, it was one of the games where you had 20-some-odd fucking shots on goal, and not a single one went in, and the goalie was great, and the other team went down one time and scored. That happens in football. It is what it is. Is it excusable? No, but it happens in football. The problem is with all the other managers is they flat out didn't qualify, and they're trying to play this stupid old-school Italian brand of football. At least Mancini, he was able to win the European Cup and got us playing a better brand of football. I think had Mancini stayed and allowed some of the better talent to come on, I don't think there would have been a problem. Like, I think we would have qualified for this World Cup had we kept Mancini on as the manager. Plus, the other thing too is the other reason why they got rid of Mancini was Mancini's been the only Italian manager that told all the bureaucrats to go fuck themselves and was going to do it his way and get the team. Like, here, another guy that I've said Arsenal should look at. Look at Manuel Locatelli, and look at him through the eyes of the fact that Juventus has misprofiled Locatelli the whole time he's been there. They've tried playing him as a regista. He's a number 8. He's not a 6. He can go box to box and score goals. So why don't you go and try and do that? He should have never been our number 6. And I think Arsenal, like, for example, he needs to get away from Juventus, and Juventus might sell him for cheap. I would look at Locatelli for a cut rate offer to come to Arsenal to be that other number 8 to go along with it. But to go back to the national team, again, I my personal opinion, I would still take Mancini. Pep, I'm taking if we're going to give Pep the tools to be the proper national team manager that we need right now. But knowing Italy the way I do, they're not going to do that. So why waste Pep's time and why waste our time? You know what I mean, Manny?
Yep, absolutely.
You know, the funny thing with Pep is I would actually like to see Pep with this crop of talent that we have. You know, you and me message each other all the time behind the scenes, Manny. When we went over, when you and me were talking about this U17 team, you won the Euros. It's not like we don't have good talent. You know, the funny thing is, we've been in 7 finals. The youth teams have been in 7 finals. If you go back to 2014 till now, we've made 7 finals between European finals and World Cup finals as far as underage tournaments. We've won 3 of them. So clearly the talent's there. The problem is the political shit, because the best players aren't getting called onto the national team and aren't being given a look because of the fact that they play for certain teams. So again, that's, as long as that dynamic's going to stay there, it doesn't matter who you get as the manager. You may never have a chance of winning. You know,
and that's the same thing with England as well, because, you know, my ideal scenario right now, Charlie, I'm really sorry for having to cut in, but, you know, when we go back and forth when it comes to this discussion of national teams, we really talk a lot and cook up some stuff. I know you don't like North Italian food, so no also buco for you. But but what I will say right now is we saw in the 3rd and 4th place playoff, we dropped Jordan Pickford and Harry Kane and brought some players in. And yes, granted, that team which Deschamps put out was an absolute disgrace. I believe if reports were true, he was planning on resting Mbappe and bringing and sort of playing a new team. But Mbappe said, no, I want to start this game. I want to score goals and get the golden boot. And he said, very well, I'll make the team, I'll cater the team to your needs. But that we ran through them like a hot knife through butter. And there's a lot which suggests to me that we have a future beyond certain players. So if we were to retire the likes of Jordan Pickford and Harry Kane and John Stones, Jordan Henderson, and even some of the veterans who didn't make the cut like Harry Maguire and a few others, we still have so much talent. And several of these talented players actually did also play for us at youth level. And we've won quite a few European championships. And we were also World Under-20 champions in 2017. And yet, many of these youth players also don't go on to earn senior caps for the national team for the reasons that you've suggested, because they play for nondescript clubs and managers don't want to really take much of a look at them. And so we lose so much talent that way at the youth level. It's just really depressing. And I want to see Tuchel as well do what you'd want Guardiola to do, become more invested. Because for what it's worth, he's now got the Euros to prove himself. And he's now got a springboard to which to be able to do it. But now he's going to have to cull point a lot of players and be committed to regenerating the team. And if he can do that, then that's we can look forward to better times. But if he's going to play the same players again, then it's not going to serve any purpose. And I don't want to see Harry Kane playing for England again. And I will say this, and I'm going to get political. The fact that you have played golf with that swine over in Palm Beach, you disgrace the armband, Harry. You should never, ever captain England ever again. You are a hypocrite, and I condemn you.
I think Tuchel, for me, I'm sorry. If I was an England fan, I would have been calling for him to get sacked. Because there was nothing different between him and Gareth Southgate, in my opinion. The only thing that I think Tuchel showed, he showed a little bit more backbone and balls the way he was getting in players' faces for screwing up on the sidelines, which I can appreciate, because Southgate was just that, oh no, everything's perfect, let's not worry about anything, that type of nonsense. For me, England screwed up on a multitude of reasons. One, not even so much. I agree with leaving out Foden. I'll just start off with that. Foden hasn't been good in 2 years, so I hear why you left him off. But to not bring Wharton and Gibbs-White is ridiculous. That was ridiculous, number one. Number two, what was the point of bringing Jordan Henderson? For what, to be a fucking cheerleader? Who gives a shit? Jordan Henderson might be the most embarrassing choice, because he didn't play a single minute, got injured, and a yellow card, and didn't even step on the field to do it. Like, I don't freaking get it with him. So for me, and then again, I mean, Noni Madueke, Jesus Christ, what the hell is he doing on the English national team? The guy don't even deserve to be a player at Arsenal, let alone be on the English national team. I
forgot Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen should have been there ahead of him, and he should have started ahead of Saka when he wasn't fully fit.
Agreed, and that's the thing. You've wasted. Jared Bowen's what, about 29? So Jared Bowen will be 30. Yeah. Will be 33 come the next World Cup. He's not making the squad. So you wasted Jared Bowen not being on the damn team for this tournament, which he's better than Noni Madueke by a country fucking mile. So he's not gonna be on there, right? Lewis Skelly should have been on the national team in the midfield before Jordan Henderson should have, especially with the way he was at the end of the run for Arsenal. He should have been gotten a call up.
According to Thomas Tuchel, he didn't have enough game time where John Stones barely played for our City. That made no sense. And he was injured for most of the season. So what was the point in picking him? You might as well just have picked Harry Maguire ahead of John Stones.
He shouldn't have got called up either.
You don't think so?
Neither John Stones nor Harry Maguire should be on the English national team. I'm sorry, because when you look at it from that perspective, you guys are making the same problems that Italy's making. Why are you bringing these guys when you're hindering the younger talent that should be getting promoted up? Like, again, listen, Harry Maguire wasn't going to make any difference if England winning this tournament or not. England was not winning the World Cup. I'm sorry, it wasn't going to happen. England would have got steamrolled over by France had France actually put together a decent team. Like here, again, Adrien Rabiot, his mom's got to be fucking blowing the whole coaching staff. Because I don't know how the hell this guy keeps getting called to the French national team. Adrien Rabiot's dog shit. No, he's dog shit.
Shane keeps saying that he's a good player and he's underrated. And
I've been watching Rabiot a long time in Italy, man. Wasn't that good at AC Milan. He wasn't that good at Juventus. Rabiot is an okay player at best. He's not what you need. Rabiot does the job for what Deschamps wanted to do, but what Deschamps did with France was hinder the team. You have two defensive midfielders in with that team. Basically, what they were there for was to protect the injury-riddled Saliba, who was being forced to play, and all they were doing was let's get the ball and heave the ball downfield and let the pace and the power of the front four of France do all the work. Well, when you come up against a team that has common sense of how to stop that bullshit, like how Spain does, you were never going to win with that. You needed it's practically the same problem like it is with Arsenal. You don't have any creativity with Zubamendi in the 6 and Rice at the 8. There's no creativity coming from your holding two midfielders from there, which you do need, which is, again, like what me and Manny were saying. When you look at it from the perspective of had you had Tielemans as the 8, yes, he's not the best ball-carrying number 8 that you would want, but he has plenty of other qualities to where he can make our offense tick so much better than what it is right now. He can link up, and again, he can also shoot. Rabiot is not that good of a player. I mean, here, Rabiot's been a starting midfielder for France since they won the World Cup. They've been knocked out by Switzerland because Deschamps' new genius idea was play a 3-4-3. That was dog shit, so they fell apart with that. He made it to the World Cup final again, but Rabiot was not a big part of that. Rabiot was a bench player. He was a nobody again. Rabiot has not been that good of a player, if we're being quite honest about the whole thing. So it's a situation with me where I don't think Rabiot is that good. And again, Deschamps, for me, he cared way too much of the star power of the front four. He cared way too much about the star power of the front four. And I think he got the front four wrong. Barcola is not a starter for France. I'm sorry, he's not. Let's get that out first and foremost.
I mean, Cherki should have started. Cherki should have been in the 10.
Cherki should have been in the 10. Mbappe
Exactly.
should have been on the left. Olise should have been on the right. And Dembele should have been the striker.
Yeah.
That's how you would have got more
amazing,
fluid play. That's how you would have gotten more fluid play for France going forward to where they would have been a better team than what they already were. Kylian Mbappe as a striker does not work. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It does not work. We've seen it for 2 seasons at Real Madrid. It didn't work. The only time it worked where he was a full-blown straight-up striker is PSG, because they can spend $100 million more than the rest of the entire French league put together. And the only other time it worked was because he was partnered up with Falcao at Monaco. Other than that, he's a left winger. He's not a striker.
He's always been a winger.
Him being a striker has upset the balance at Real Madrid. People can say whatever they want. That is 100% what's happening, is that he is upsetting the balance of what's going on at Real Madrid, and it just hasn't worked out. He's a left winger. Dembele won a Ballon d'Or as a striker. Why the fuck would you move a Ballon d'Or out of position?
Makes no sense.
That's my
Not
thing.
what he
And
deserved.
Cherokee a million times better than Bradley Barcola.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about 150 million for Bradley Barcola. I'd go right over to City and say, well, okay, well, we don't want to give 150 million to PSG. How about we give you 120? Well, what are you guys willing to do to give up Cherokee? You only signed him for 30 million euros. Why don't we go make an offer for Cherokee? Especially if Rodri's leaving. Fuck it. Let's see how fractured Manchester City could potentially become if Rodri leaves in the same season that Pep leaves. You know what I mean? I'd rather try something like that.
But he got what he deserved. I mean, Zidane's going to have to come in for France, and he's got to have a big work to do.
Big up Gary every time.
Big up Gary. I mean, that France team with Zidane's got to sort it out, because I feel like with Rabiot, I just feel like the whole system needs to change. I feel like Dembele up top was very good for PSG under Enrique, and he got the best out of him. I mean, it makes no sense. Dembele, yes, people are going to sit here and say, yes, Dembele's mainly a winger, but he's playing false nine, and it works. It's working for PSG. He's scoring the goals. But I don't get, why are you moving him to the right? You have Olise who can play on the right. Olise is mainly a right winger. You have Cherki who can play the 10. You have Kone. You could have had Tchouaméni and Kone together in the midfield. I think that could possibly have worked. I think Mbappe should be on the left. I mean, Barcola, I don't know why he's there. I mean, he did absolutely nothing in this World Cup. He was just pants in this World Cup. Mbappe playing up top, no, I think Mbappe should be on the left. He's more of a left wing than a striker. And I think Dembele should be up top. I think that's what Zidane's supposed to do when he comes to France as the manager during the international break. Obviously, the Nations League is pointless, but obviously he has to do that. And when you look at Deschamps, he got what he deserved. I mean, that system didn't work. I mean, when you look at the fullback, how did he start Luca Dean ahead of Theo Hernandez? Makes no sense. Like, Theo Hernandez is one of the best left backs in the world. I think Theo Hernandez should have started ahead of Luca Dean. I think Theo Hernandez is very good defensively. Luca Dean 1-on-1 ain't that great. He's just not that great. I mean, PSG now.
No, but then Theo Hernandez was ripped to shreds by Saka and company in the playoff, right? So even he didn't do that much better. And I think Digne obviously earned his right to start given. I mean, the thing about Digne as well is that, as you've mentioned, defensively he isn't really the best, and there was an ugly mistake he made against Bournemouth where he allowed, I don't know who it was. Was it Rayan to just walk past him?
It was Rayan. Yeah, it was Rayan.
Yeah, it was Rayan. Yeah.
But what also angered me a great deal about Deschamps was that he devolved from being a ruthless, unfair but firm manager into becoming someone who was so subservient, not just to the front four, but more so to Kylian Mbappe. Which is why, if Zidane comes in, I would like to think that, when you have two alpha males like Zidane and Mbappe together, they're going to clash. And so, when history tells us in international football that whenever there's a skirmish between the manager and the player, the manager always ends up winning. So, Zidane coming in, I think, is going to have to really improve the discipline of the squad. There will be a lot of people who will be forced into retirement. And it's going to be interesting times, definitely, with Les Bleus. You can bet on
Do you think Zidane is going to make Mbappe play much better than the previous coach?
See, it isn't a question, Thabo, of how well Mbappe plays, but, the biggest criticism that people have of Mbappe is that ever since he became French captain, succeeding Hugo Lloris, he's been viewed in some circles as a bit of a dictator. He's been given a little bit too much, power and leeway at times. So the most important thing is that Zidane's going to have to put him back into place and say, look, Kylian, you are an amazing player, and yes, you are France captain, but when it comes to the national team, I'm the boss. I'm the gaffer. I know I'm quoting Steve Staunton, but it's the manager who always has to have the say. If Deschamps had maintained that kind of relationship with Mbappe and sort of be fair but firm, we wouldn't have many issues going on right now. And I'll tell you what, if you ask any French fan, they'll tell you that Mbappe is not really a very popular captain, despite his exploits for the France national team. And basically, and we'll come to that, Sean, in that 2018 team, and I think, Gianni can agree, there were so many other fine players who were doing some really good things. You had Paul Pogba when he was in form, doing a great deal of work in that defensive midfield pivot. Antoine Griezmann, what a brilliant servant he was. And then, you had Benjamin Pavard, who was in great form, but then he fell away, and then, he hasn't been picked since. I don't think he's going to play for France up again. And this talk about Zidane possibly dropping Dembele to the bench, that is definitely the wrong approach. If you have some sort of a case, Paris Mandan, where you say that maybe Dembele's lost a little bit of pace or whatever, maybe he can't, perform that sort of role, that would be okay. But obviously, if you stick our boy Gianni in there, he'll say Kylian on the left, Elise on the right, Cherki in the number 10, and Dembele up front. That is what could happen. But we're going to find out and see what Zidane does over here, because there's no doubt in my mind that he will have taken a look at the tapes and just had an idea of what would need to be done. I don't know if he was necessarily the most tactical manager during his time at Real Madrid. I mean, to be fair, he probably didn't need to be with all of the talent he had at his disposal. But he's got a lot of work to do now with this France team, because, yes, they're talented. But it seems to me that France is starting to go down the same path that the Dutch national team did back in the 90s, with all of the infighting and the unrest and so forth. And I'll tell you what, I think the likes of Griezmann retired from France because he was sick and tired of being, taken for granted by Deschamps while Mbappe was being pandered to. And so when if you have the situation which will continue under Zidane, it can't last very long. And there's a reason why it'll now be 10 years since that World Cup win, and they haven't been able to win a single tournament since. So that's not really good if you're a France fan. And to answer your question on why Digne was sold, I think, Villa saw an opportunity to offload his wages, and they thought, as great as he is with the crosses, he is defensively a little bit of a liability, a chance for him to go back home. What's not to like? But if PSG are smart, they're not going to play Digne in the Super Cup against Aston Villa. Otherwise, he's going to be targeted, believe you me.
Yeah, well, see, what? I think with Zidane getting the hire, I think Mbappe is not going to be the big pain in the ass that he was for Didier Deschamps. The other thing, too, is that we also have to remember is, like you said, the other big thing about that 2018 team that people forget is Deschamps had other people to facilitate what he wanted in the midfield. Let's all remember something here. Kylian Mbappe played as the right wing and had Olivier Giroud and Antoine Griezmann doing the hold up and the link up with him to why Mbappe was so good for their 2018. The one player that everybody forgets was Blaise Matuidi was the left winger, because they were basically shoehorning it in to be a 4-2-3-1 defensively, but then went into the 4-3-3 where Matuidi could go up a little bit and Pogba could go up a little bit, because N'Golo Kante was still in his prime and was still running all over the field and stopping everybody from going forward. Now you don't have that. And like you said, they didn't take what they had in Griezmann for granted. Like, if an old player was going to get an opportunity at a World Cup, I don't understand why Griezmann wasn't brought with France. I would have took him in a freaking heartbeat to be another playmaker for that front four to link up between the midfield to the attack the way Griezmann can do it. That's where I thought they got completely wrong. And same thing, like I said, with Cherki. Cherki and Griezmann are a million miles ahead of Bradley Barcola. I don't get what the whole craze is with him. And on bringing him up really quickly, I don't want Bradley Barcola at Arsenal. I don't think Barcola is all that, if I'm being quite honest with you. I don't want another 80 to 100 million spent on a guy that is another development player. What do you spend 100 fucking million on a development player for? There's no room for that nonsense. Not at this point in time with Arsenal. So I don't know. I think, to like what Manny said, I think there's a lot of nonsense that went on with the French national team. And I think Deschamps got caught up in this gung-ho counterattack transition style will play defensive. That's not what France should be doing with that team. There's other players like how Camavinga didn't get called up to the national team is crazy to me. When you could be playing more possession-based football with that French team than doing what you were doing. I just thought he got it completely wrong with this. I honestly would say I think France with Zidane could bring back a better overall team as far as playing a more attacking, controlling based football than just trying to do transitions and waiting for somebody to have a magical moment to carry them over the line. That's not going to get you anywhere. And like to what Sean's saying, if Zidane doesn't change the way France play, then Spain's going to walk the Euros again. They could match what they did with 2 Euros in a World Cup in 6 years. They could easily do that with the team that they're with how they're playing. So I don't know. It's a crazy thing with what's going on. Tabo, you were going to say something. I'm sorry for interrupting.
So I was going to ask, when it comes to Jude, we all scrutinize Jude Bellingham when it comes to him being in the England club, right? In the English team. So now, since his performance within the World Cup, do you think now, when it comes to club level, do you think he's going to be given the role that he deserves and more freedom to play how he played against France?
I'm not looking too much into that third place game because it was more of a game that I think France just didn't give a rat's ass. They didn't win. They didn't win the tournament, so I don't think they really cared. Like Manny said, Mbappe was more of a selfish thing for him to say, no, I want to play and go get the golden boot. It's like, dude, you're playing a third place game. Who gives a fuck? You're 27 years old. You're going to play in at least another World Cup. Unless another freak of nature comes into play, nobody's going to break this goal scoring record that he's going to have at a World Cup. So what are we doing here? You know what I mean? So for me, I think with Jude, the thing with Jude Bellingham for me is more of a situation of, can Jude find the form on his own and within himself without Ancelotti? Jude Bellingham looked good as a number 10 because of the way Ancelotti had that system set up for him with Vinny and Rodrigo playing so close to him to aid him out. That shows the greatness of Ancelotti as a manager, of him being able to do that with Jude Bellingham. Too many people have tried to copy it with the likes of both Southgate and Tuchel, and it's not the same. For me, I think Jude Bellingham came into this World Cup, heard all the bullshit being talked about him in the media, and took it personal and wanted to go gung ho at it. We're going to see how he plays at Real Madrid, because I think this is going to be a very interesting year for Real Madrid, especially considering that it's Jose Mourinho who's now the manager over there. So yeah. I don't know just yet if I'm going to be a believer. I think Bellingham looked good, but again, at the same time, how many players have we seen have a good World Cup and then they go back to their club and it's So you just don't know. I think Jude Bellingham, I think there's a player there. If Bellingham takes Real Madrid this season as serious as it was from the World Cup, then I think maybe we'll see Bellingham make another step up. Because I also think that Mourinho is going to make him a better overall midfielder. It's just, is he going to be willing to do the dirty work that we know is going to be required when you play for Jose Mourinho? I think that's the big key coming into this season. But I think Real Madrid's going to be one of the teams threatening for the Champions League this year. I think the signings they've made have been pretty damn good, if I'm being quite honest with you. Jose, the problem for Madrid since both Ancelotti's last year and then the following year is defensively they're a shambles. They just are. It is what it is. Them adding Cucurella, I think, is going to be very important for them, because he'll be able to do a lot of work up that left-hand side that's going to free up Vinny Jr. and whoever else plays over there. But I also want to say, I think one of the under talked about signings that's going to be big for Real Madrid this year is going to be Denzel Dumfries. I think Dumfries is going to offer them a lot of help, and not just holding out for what the creativity situation is going to be with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Because Alexander-Arnold better shape up now that he's got Jose Mourinho as the manager over there. So we'll see with what happens. But as far as Jude Bellingham, the way that he approached the World Cup is what he needs to approach a season for. If he doesn't and he tries to do the same old shit, then Bellingham ain't gonna like some of the hot takes from Mourinho that we know Mourinho likes to talk shit. So you know what I mean? So we'll see how that goes. But I don't know. I think England, the problem with me with England is that I don't know. The problem with England for me is a mentality thing. I think they have good enough players on a talent pool. I think it's the mentality of the English which is holding them back. Like me personally, I don't understand why England doesn't play like Argentina to a certain degree. You have players that are down with the bullshit for the shithousery and everything else, but then you have good players as far as creative players and everything else that should be taking advantage of getting in people's faces. I don't understand why. It's almost as if England likes to play too much of a posh, squeaky clean fucking game. And it's like, bro, you're not on that level in order to do that. That's my personal opinion. So I don't know. We'll see if Tuchel changes that. But
we don't have a Lionel Messi who could actually improve us that much better, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but you can't tell me if England was on the shithousery like Argentina is, for example. Like if England knew how to toe the line of getting involved, trying to wind people up, but then knowing how to pull back and then using their skills with the ball and being able and showing off their good talent, I think England could get much further and actually win some trophies with this period of period of players that they have. I think England just tries to play too squeaky clean of a game that I think there's not enough, bullshit within them in order for them to try to see out. Because sometimes you need that shithousery to get you over the line. And I think England just plays it too squeaky clean. That's my opinion on it, How many times How many times have we seen Italy in the heyday get through with the dark arts and everything else? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, Giorgio Cellini, that little he nearly of course strangled Bukayo Saka in the Euro final. I can't forget that. And ironically, that is of course another reason why Maguire would have been quite useful, because he is also a bit of a big shithouse, if you will. I mean, you will remember, of course, when United came to the Emirates Stadium and played us. I mean, obviously, we have this chap named Magalhaes, of course, who likes to think of himself as Billy Big Balls, giving it the big large. But then you have this meme on Twitter. Maguire handled him like a rag doll, put him in his place. And, that is another reason, perhaps a reason why, if you have someone like Maguire, you've got someone, who you can't really mess with him. I could perhaps agree that maybe in terms of his form and consistency, he probably didn't deserve to be in the squad. But then if you want that sort of a guy who will, get stuck in and really put you in your place if you're an attacker or whatever, he'd be that person. And the less said, of course, about Magalhaes, the better. Haaland dunked in on him.
Yeah.
Stay humble, Gabriel. Stay humble. So you've got a point there, Johnny. I think we have to learn to be a little bit more, we've got to bring back the Bulldog style. We're supposed to be the Bulldogs, for Pete's sake.
Yes.
And then maybe we could come out to the tune of "Who Let the Dogs Out?" Who?
I did money, man.
Yeah, I think it's a situation with England like you can't here. The game against Mexico, it should have never even been that close. Should never, yes, the altitude and all that, but that Mexico team is dog shit. You know what I mean? That Mexico team is not that good. That English team should be able to, we say it in with American football, should be able to inflict their will onto the other team. If the Premier League is sold as pace and power to the rest of the world to show that the Premier League is the best league in the world, then why aren't you using the power side of it in order to influence the game and throw the other teams off their game plan? You know what I mean? It's kind of like England should embrace, a little bit of the shithousery of Diego Simeone that he had at Atletico Madrid when they were in their prime, when Atletico was in their prime. That England has the players to be able to play that type of a combination of football where you can screw with the other team, throw them off, but then be able to play with the ball as well and go and attack them when needed. I just think, like I said, I think England plays way too much of a squeaky clean game when there are the games where you are going to need to pull extra shit in order to win. Whether you like it or not, dark arts have helped every single team win a World Cup or a European Championship or a Copa America or whatever international tournament you want to say. I just think that England need to play a better overall game than just a squeaky clean game. And I'll be honest with you, stop trying to play defensive. I'm sorry, Thomas Tuchel, you don't know what the fuck you're doing trying to play defensive football. It's not in your wheelhouse. Because anybody who tries to play defensive football where England was stationed at against Argentina, it's never going to work. You try to have John Stones play as your center of three center backs, and you're going to play the offside trap and set an offside line as the penalty spot. What the fuck are we doing here? Like that's the whole reason why. That's the whole reason why Lautaro Martinez was able to sneak in and get that game-winning header. Because you got John Stones trying to hold an offside line on the penalty spot. You got Dan Burn, who's a big fucking ugly ogre that can't even pick up his man and everything else. I mean, again, what the fuck is the point of Dan Burn being on the English national team?
Man, you could have picked Tomori ahead of Dan Burn.
Tomori's been better. Tomori's better than majority of the defenders you guys got. He's been shunned. He's just been shunned because he came to the City A. That's the whole reason why he got shunned. You can't tell me Fikayo Tomori shouldn't be starting in a mix with either Konsa or Gehi. He could play alongside with either of those guys. You can't tell me that Fikayo Tomori is not better than all the other defenders you guys have.
Bring him back to Arsenal?
I would take him. I would take Tomori. I would take Tomori. Tomori's been one of the best. Tomori's been easy top 10, arguably top 5 center backs consistently in Italy for the last 5 years since he left England. Consistently, he's been one of the best center backs. That's why I don't understand why England never called him up. It never
João
made sense to
Quansah
me
being
why they
in the
never
squad
called him.
makes no sense. João Quansah, I don't know why he was there. It made no sense, really. Playing him
Again,
at right back.
Tomori's better than him. How does he get a call up?
I don't think he watches Serie A, if I'll be totally honest with you. I don't know if Thomas Tuchel actually watches Serie A, or does he actually just goes to English matches and just sits there taking notes of which players I want to pick in the Premier League. Obviously, Harry Kane obviously has to be in there because even though he plays for Germany, he has to get in there. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't think that Jude Bellingham would be good enough because obviously last 2 seasons at Real Madrid, he was actually trash. I'd have had Adam Morton ahead of him. Gibbs White ahead of him, but listen, he did well. But the problem is, I think Jude Bellingham is more of a box-to-box than he is at number 10. I feel like that's his best position. I feel like if we had maybe a Gibbs White or a Rodgers in the 10 role, maybe as that would have worked, but who knows? I mean, funny enough, we all know in the panel, Tabo, Mani, Gianni, we all know that Declan Rice has been a number 6. That third place playoff, when he was playing 6, showed you that he's an actual number 6. He didn't need to play Rice Anderson. This crap Rice at 8, Anderson 6, never worked. If you played Declan Rice, if you just played, I don't know, 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, I think Declan Rice can just be the 6th role, just sitting there, just doing the defensive work. It worked against France. It worked. Why did he not do it against Croatia, Panama, and all these games? Argentina, he could have played Rice the 6. He took him off. He could have played the 6, and it would have worked. This didn't work, really. I mean, if he'd understood, I mean, let's be real, Paris Brandem is right. Game went left when you subbed off Rice. I mean, why did you sub off Gordon for Konsa? Were you trying to play 5 at the back or something? You could have replaced Gordon for Rashford.
And this is what I mean, like with Tuchel, Tuchel's best football has actually been with a 5-man back. We've seen it in Chelsea. And at Dortmund. When he was at Dortmund, he played the same thing of the 5-2-3. That's what Tuchel's staple formation is the 5-2-3. The question you got to ask yourself is, if you're going to play a 5-2-3 and in the forward line it's going to turn into a 3-4-3 when you're in the attack, does England actually have the team to be able to do that? No, they don't. I'm sorry, they don't. Who are you going to put? So if you're going to play a 5-2-3, you're telling me that you're going to go with a back line of John Stones, Konsa, and Gehi, with the fullbacks being Jed Spence and Reece James at some time, or Nico O'Reilly at some time and Jed Spence. where do you think you're getting this creativity of going forward? Because in the middle, then you're stuck with Declan Rice and Bellingham. Bellingham, like you said, can't even play the number 8 role like that because you're playing with a 2-man pivot in front of a back line of 5.
Makes no sense.
The whole thing doesn't make any sense. That's why, like, when Tuchel took the job, I'm like, he can't play what he liked to play at Chelsea with this England squad. I mean, hell, England here, let's say he went with a 3-5-2 like Southgate went with the 2018 World Cup. It still doesn't fit.
No.
Well, you're going to tell me you're going to go Declan Rice. Like, for me, I agree with what you said. You should go with a 4-1-4-1, in my opinion, for England. Rice should be the 6. You have Bellingham as the 8, and then play Rodgers central.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's it. That works.
Or if you want to do this whole crazy shit, throw Eze at the 10 and throw Rodgers at the left wing if you wanted to play it that way, and just make the left wing more central so you get more link up play and more attack. But that whole everything else, I just didn't understand it at all. And I mean, you look at like, what's his name as well too? Gordon, okay, he didn't do nothing special. I didn't understand how he was a starter for a lot of the games for England. I just think there's a lot of weird shit going on with England that I don't know. I think there needs to be something needs to happen to where there's a mentality change for England if they're going to step it up to actually try to win an international tournament. And what they're doing right now is not it. And like I said, for me, if I was the head of the English FA, Tuchel would have got sacked at the end of that Argentina game. He'd have got left. He'd have been sacked right at the end of the game to do that. How the fuck? 12% possession. 12% possession against Argentina for that long. You thought you were going to see out a 1-goal lead. I'm sorry. He should have got sacked right then and there for that stupid
Might as well
shit.
just bring in, I don't know, maybe Pep Guardiola or Lee Carsley. I mean, Lee Carsley, obviously, when Southgate left, he won, I think, 5 out of 6 games, and I think he played good football. You could have picked him. Like De La Fuente, he was under 21s coach. He came into the team, and look what he's done. I would have taken Lee Carsley. I think it would have been a good job, but he said it himself that he wasn't good enough. I think he should have taken the job. I felt like it would have worked. No foreign manager has ever won, I think, a trophy with a different country.
No foreign manager has ever won a World Cup with a team that's not of his own. Again, that's part of the reason why I don't want Pep at Italy. Pep at Italy works maybe 6 years down the line if Pep gets to revolutionize everything, and if he gets to revolutionize everything. But we know with them old grease balls and all the bullshit that goes on in the politics for Italy, that's not going to happen. So again, that's why I say there's no point of wasting Pep's time if he's not going to actually put his emphasis on the national team, So we'll see with what ends up happening. But listen, guys, I got to bounce out of here. I actually got to go to work right now. I just got a call for it. So we're going to end this a little bit earlier. Manny, my brother, always appreciate your time. It's been a little while since seeing you. Hopefully I'll see you a little bit more consistently since the season's starting up. Real quick, I just wanted to ask you this, because you and me, I think we both have a fond appreciation of Unai Emery as a manager. When you look at the situation with Villa, they got the new kid. I don't want to butcher his name. Manzambi, I think is his name, the midfielder from Freiburg. Manzambi. Okay. Garnacho, it is what it is as far as that. What other signing do you think Villa needs to make in order to stay in and around where they're at for the future going forward? I think they're going to need to get a better number 10 option. I actually like this Joao Gomes that they signed. I actually think him in a rotation with Kamara and Onana when he gets back being healthy, I think is a very good double pivot selection to have for Aston Villa. I think they need another striker, and I think they need another number 10 to go forward to really try to stay with where they're at. But where are you at with Villa, and what do you think they need to stay in and around where they're at? And if if you were the sporting director of Villa, like if you were to give yourself maybe a 4 or 5 player short list of what you think you would need to go forward for Villa, what do you think Villa would look like? How would you see Villa going forward?
Well, I think in terms of the number 10 position, they might be covered for now with Manzambi, because I think they signed him as more of a Rodgers replacement. They still have Emi Buendia on the books, who actually was, cooking last season. And bear in mind that it was Buendia and Rodgers who were, alternating between the 10 and the left wing, sort of feeding off one another. So Buendia is going to have a little bit of some work cut out to try to make sure that he gets that same chemistry with Manzambi, but I think he'll do fine. A lot of Villa fans on Twitter are quite excited about Garnacho, because he had to get away from those dysfunctional environments at Chelsea and Manchester United. Sorry for that, Tarpo, but I do have to say that. There, especially under Amorim, it wasn't a really nice place to, be. And, Rashford was only too happy to get away from there. And I think they seem to be covered there. But another player they would need would be a more than decent right back to cover for Matthew Cash, because Cash pretty much played almost every minute of the season last season, and you could see that whenever he wasn't there, they kind of struggled, having to either play Ezri Konsa there. On one occasion, they put Victor Lindelof there in the Europa League. It didn't work. Andres Garcia was an absolute flop, and thankfully he's gone back to La Liga on loan, I think. And there's this other chap named Nedeljkovic, who hasn't really seen much action, but maybe, he could be brought back. But they're going to need another right back. And as far as left back is concerned, I believe they've brought Estupinian back to the Premier League from AC Milan, which could be a good buy. Because
I think he's a better option for a combination with him and Maatsen. I think he's a better combination than Digne, if I'm being honest.
Exactly, because Maatsen is more of the inverted left back who sort of cuts into the midfield, while you need someone who's more of the traditional overlapping left back who would whip in across. And so Estupinian is a smart buy. Onana's absence is going to be dreadful and well felt, because the poor chap ruptured his ACL against Spain, and I actually believe that Spain got lucky there. Never mind the fact that they scored that last-minute winner from a goalkeeping error. And again, Thabo, I'm sorry, I have to mention that. I hope Sané Lamens recovers from that and has a good season with United. But Onana not being in that midfield, in that double pivot, really set Belgium back a very long way, and they weren't quite able to replace him. And so it's going to be an even bigger loss for Aston Villa. Of course, they could always shove Victor Lindelof into that defensive midfield position. It worked well near the end of the season. He also started the Europa League final. But even Emery knows that you can't keep doing that. And even Pep Guardiola didn't keep John Stones in that defensive midfield pivot for too long. So I think to answer your question in short, they are going to need a backup right back if they can get one. Otherwise, they are going to have to hope that Nedeljkovic has a new renaissance the way Emi Buendia did. As far as the number 10 is concerned, they might be set with Manzambi for the moment. They are going to have to lean on some of the squad players they have, because they have been trying to move some squad players on and they haven't really succeeded. I believe Leon Bailey might have secured a move to Hull City, which is good. That chap's best days are gone. I don't think Tyrone Ming should be playing for Aston Villa anymore. For some reason, he is still very much a part of it. I mean, Ezri Konsa and Pau Torres are their first choice centre-backs. And if it weren't for Laporte, maybe Torres would have found a place in that Spain squad for the World Cup and the Euros before that. So that poor chap's quite unlucky. They seem to be reasonably well set, but they are going to have to sort of, try and depend on some of the Dean Smith era players that are still there. Maybe squeeze out one more season from them and then move them on. And that just makes it all the more impressive that, Emery was able to get a tune out of that squad when most of them were signed several years before he even came into the picture. That man turns water into wine. Although credit to Aston Villa fans, you are not going to see them, make a caricature of Unai Emery with the face of Jesus, with the hair and the beard. Where they're not like us who do the same thing with Arteta, you see. So I think I'm also going to give my predictions. I don't know if they will qualify for the Champions League via the top 4. They're going to have to work exceptionally hard and make sure they avoid the injuries they had, because when they lost their 3-star midfielders, Camara, Tielemans and McGinn almost at the same time, they literally were disemboweled and had that horrible run near the somewhere around about the middle where they were losing games in clumps. And you see a pattern. They go on these long runs, then they lose some games here and there in some clumps. They have a great run till the end of the season, and they somehow finish in the top 4, top 5, and get Champions League football. But they're going to have to start picking up some more points, because 60 points should never be enough to secure Champions League football. And they've actually decreased it from 68 the first time to 62 this time around. That's how bad the league has been. So they're going to struggle to try and get back into the top 4 by the league. But don't be surprised, Gianni, if they actually go on a very long run in the Champions League. Last time Unai Emery won the Europa League. Yeah, last time Unai Emery won the Europa League with Villarreal, the team which had ex-gunner Francois Coquelin and that old warhorse Raul Albiol in the team. The next season, he took that team to the semi-finals where they lost to Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. So don't be surprised if Emery takes them quite far. I could have them going as far as the semi-finals, going one better than the quarter-final position, because they love playing in Europe, and Unai Emery does. They will probably need to try to look to win a domestic cup. If they can win a Carling, a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup, that would be a bonus. But I think it's going to be a difficult season for them. They are going to have to make sure they not only hit the ground running, but make sure that they avoid the injuries. But we also have to get our act together, because we've got players on the on the injured list right now. I don't think they'll recover. And unless we get our act together, we're going to struggle. But it's going to be interesting to see how these teams do. It's a season of, rebirth, renaissance for several teams, and that's what makes it exciting. But Gianni, fratello mio, I've got to go and sleep as well. So as always, grazie mille, che Dio vi benedica, and I will see you again soon. Cheers, bro.
My guy, man. My guy. Appreciate it. Quadra, you want to shout your channel out before we bounce, my guy? Oh. Quadra just froze up. All right. Well, if Quadra's completely frozen, guys, go over to Quadra's channel. He's always putting out shorts covering what's going on as far as games and everything else. He's also one of the best mods there is. Shout out to Paris Mandem. Shout out to Sean. Oh, there we go. Quadra's back. Quadra, you want to shout your channel out real quick before we bounce, my guy? And I appreciate you.
It's my Talks Football channel. I'm just going to upload some shorts. I'm going to put it on Insta as well. Just pray that we get that Bruno G deal done. And we need to improve on our window, because our windows are shambles. I mean, we just have to improve. I mean, we're defending champions. We are favourites for the league title as we won the league. So we just have to defend our title, and let's see how it goes. I mean, let's just hope that Arteta doesn't get a new contract, because if he does, we are fucked.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. But big up to everybody in the chat. Big up Sean. Big up Paris. Big up Abhijit. Big up everybody that stopped by. Darren, Ross, and everybody else that stopped by for the conversation today. We will be back Friday night with Taryn with BBK Sports for the Around the League show. And I think I'll be doing a call-in show Saturday this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. And we will be having another City Oz show coming up soon. But yeah, just appreciate everybody for giving me your guys' time and stopping by for the conversation today. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and that'll be it. So,
take care, guys.